Sorry, guys. I just wanted to make sure we're recording this. You know what you're saying?
I did a Facebook ad, but I got a lot of leads, but most of them put in wrong information, so it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Online leads is a big part of my business as well. I run a lot of Facebook ads. Yeah, it's a numbers game. You're gonna get 100 leads, you may convert one or two of them, maybe three or four of them. It's a percentage game. The more leads you have, the better chance obviously you have of converting them. But yeah, a lot of times you'll find that they put in wrong information. You'll call us disconnected, or they answer and they say no, it's not me, and it really is. But
Or I'm just looking, I'm not buying, I was just curious.
okay, we'll get into that in a little bit. We'll talk about some scripts because how to qualify buyers is big as well. When you get a lead, how do we actually qualify them to see if they're a buyer or not? But we'll get into that a little bit, how to handle those situations. Cool. So I'm curious, have you guys been doing your daily 10-4? Yeah? All right. Have your instructors been setting aside time during Ignite to do the daily 10-4?
Some of them.
Some of them? All right. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to, for the next like 10 minutes till 10 o'clock, let's go through our daily 10-4. Let's make some phone calls for 10 minutes, see how many people we can talk to. If you don't know what your daily 10-4 is, 10 contacts, right? You speak to 10 people in a day. You add 10 people to your database. You send 10 handwritten notes, and you preview 10 houses, right? The 10 houses is over the week.
10 phone calls?
10 phone calls, 10 people added to your database, 10 handwritten notes, and then 10 homes previewed, right?
When you say home previews, you need to go like to open houses? Or?
Either an open house, just
Showings.
you pull up the MLS and you start running some searches there. That's enough. So here's the way that I have found the daily 10-4 to be really productive. Circle prospecting, right? If you don't know what circle prospecting is, essentially you just pull up a neighborhood and you start calling the area. You start calling the homeowners there, right? If you pull up a neighborhood of, let's say, 100 houses and you call through them, you already have their name, their phone number, and their address, right? So if you make a connection with them, you already have enough information to throw them into your database, right? So you contact and you've already added them to your database. You already have their physical address. So it's very easy to just send a handwritten note. Hey, it was great speaking to you today. Here's some business cards for you and your friends. That's usually what I say. Here's 5 business cards, 1 for you and a few for your friends, and I just send it to them in the mail.
In the mail.
Yeah.
How do you get their numbers? Like, for example, I just moved to a community in Homestead.
We'll get into that in a second.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into that in a second. So that's the easiest way that I found right now. As far as the homes previewed, again, you're pulling up a specific neighborhood, that same neighborhood, you pull it up in the MLS, you look at all the actives, all the solds, all the expireds, all the canceled, so that way when you're calling these homeowners and they ask you a question, oh, well, what are prices in the neighborhood? Well, you have your neighbor that sold for 500, you have your other neighbor that sold for 520, you're somewhere in that ballpark depending on condition, right? So that's how you kind of do the 10 homes previewed. At least I find the best way to be most productive, right? You're going to do some research in a neighborhood, and then you're going to call that neighborhood and try to get some business from them. And then whoever you speak to, you throw them into your database, you follow up with them, you send them a note, and then you follow up with them until they're ready to either buy or sell.
One question: when you say send them a note, it's like
thank you note. Yeah, just a little thank you note. Hey,
talking to you,
hey, Kevin. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer. Here are some business cards for you and anybody that you may know looking to buy or sell. Boom, simple as that. They have a note. They have some business cards. Whether it ends up in the mail or whether it ends up in the garbage or on their fridge, I'll tell you this though. I've gone on listing appointments with people that I've been talking to for 2.5, 3 years, and just keeping the conversation. Hey, how's it going? Has anything changed? Are you ready to sell? Has anything happened? Who do you know? Whatever. Just continuing to follow up with them. Finally, they decide to sell. You go. This is a true story. I go to their house and they have a stack like this of all the stuff that I sent them, because they keep it, right? Sometimes they keep it, but it's powerful when they get something that's different and it's personalized to them. Multiple times I've gone on listing appointments and they have all the information that I've been sending them through the mail. Market reports that I've sent them, they'll have it there on the table.
You do more mail than emails?
I do a lot of both. So we'll get into the 30. So there's a campaign called the 33 Touch, which is huge within Keller Williams. Now it's actually the 36 Touch, but it's 36 contacts within a year. It's 4 phone calls, 1 per quarter. It's 4 emails, 4 text messages. That's 12 right there. A birthday note, a Thanksgiving note. We'll give away a pie for Thanksgiving. So I'll call them again during Thanksgiving. I'll send them a note for Christmas. I'll send them market reports, right? I'll mail them market reports. So they're getting a piece of mail or at least an email once a month. It's 36 different contacts. Truthfully, our follow-up system is more than 36. It's closer to like 55 over the year. But a lot of it is automated emails, automated market reports, automated Thanksgiving notes, birthday cards, all that stuff you can automate, and you can automate all of that stuff through Command as well. You can go through Command and create like a follow-up plan, and it'll automatically say, you know, in 3 months from now, you'll have a to-do, call this person. So it's not even like you have to go in there. All you have to do is click a button and set it up. Once you create the plan, right? Once you create the plan, you just attach that plan to your contact, and automatically, you know, you'll have the follow-up there for you. So like, I'll give you an example. I come into the office in the morning and I look at my daily tasks, right? What are my daily tasks within my database? And within my database, I'll usually have 15 or 20 calls or market reports to send, just for that day, right? I don't even have to, and these are to-dos or tasks that I've set up months and months ago, sometimes years ago, right? But I just log in today, and the system will automatically create a to-do for me to call this person today. So I know without even thinking about it, who do I need to call? I have all my notes there. This is what we've spoken about. You give them a call. Hey, we've spoke, you know, 15 times over the last 2 years. Just wanted to check in with you, see if anything has changed, see if you know anybody looking to buy or sell some real estate. Yes, no, fantastic. You go on with your day, right? But it's just that check-in. What you want is to be the person that they think about when the time does come that they're ready to buy or sell.
Even
right?
if it's 1 month, 1 year, 2 years.
1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it
Just
is.
to keep like in contact with them, so
Yeah.
they can remember you when they.
You want them to think of Kevin, Victoria, Robert, Malak. When they say real estate, boom, that you want them to think about you, right? But the only way that you can do that is if you constantly follow up with them. The system makes it really easy to do that.
What system do you use? I'm sorry.
We use Brivity. Yeah. Command has all the same tools that Brivity has. The only difference between Brivity and Command is that Brivity is more of a team platform, so we can all add notes together. That's the only difference. All the systems are the same.
So you can start with the command.
Yeah.
And then later on.
Yeah, Command actually has a lot more features that Brivity doesn't have. Like I said, the only feature that Brivity has that Command doesn't is that because we're a team, I can add notes, and then my lender can check in and see the notes. You know, if I have like a showing agent, then that's like if I sign a buyer and then I'm going to send Kevin to show the properties for me. Now Kevin can go in there and see the notes. That's the only difference between Brivity and Command.
It's convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient for teams, but if you're not on a team, you really don't need it. All right,
so sorry. How long on average do you find it? How much time do you guys have to nurture that relationship to turn into a potential sale of some sort?
So most sales are made on the 7th phone call. It's around 93%.
That's the average? That's the average?
It's the average, yeah. And it varies, right? Sometimes you set the appointment on the first phone call. Sometimes it takes 25. I mean, look, I'll give you an example. I got an email last night from a buyer that I've been talking to for 6 months. Over the 6 months, I've called them once a month for 6 months. And yesterday is when they finally said, hey, we're ready, right?
So on average, though, it's 18 months then for it to convert to a sale, right? The 7 phone calls, 1 call per quarter.
No, I wouldn't focus so much on the time rather than the contacts, right? Because it depends on also the person's timeline, right? So like our follow-up changes based on the person's timeline. If somebody tells me that they want to buy within the next 3 months, that's a hot lead, right? So that hot lead is going to get a call from me every single week, right? So that may be 7 weeks of phone calls. If they're like a nurture that they tell me, hey, look, we're probably going to retire in a few years, maybe 3-4 years down the road, then they'll get a call once a quarter, right? Because they don't need a constant call. I can just check in with them once per quarter. Somebody is like 6 months to a year, then I'll call them once a month, right? So that's kind of my timeline is 0 to 3 months is a hot, 3 to 6 is like a warm, and then 6+ year plus is a nurture, and then they'll get reached out to less often. So with that being said, it's 10 o'clock now. Let's take 10 minutes to do our daily 10-4. If you don't have a list of phone numbers, just pull out your contacts and just start calling through there. I'm going to give you guys a resource later on before we leave. Make sure, please, just write it down. It's free to you guys. It's a great resource, so that way tomorrow and the rest of the sessions moving forward, you guys can have a call list. So that when we do this, you're calling the same group of people. That's what ultimately, look, one thing that I'll mention real quick, and the reason why I stress this so much with the daily 10-4, I was never intentional about tracking my numbers, right? And how many dials I'm doing compared to how many people are answering compared to how many people I set an appointment with, all that stuff. When you start tracking those numbers, you can see where your gaps are, right? For me personally, about a year ago, I knew that I was making a lot of contacts and I wasn't setting a lot of appointments. So my scripts weren't sharp. I had to practice my scripts, right? Sharpened up my script practice a little bit. I did a lot more script practice. I got better at scripts. I started setting more appointments. Now, how many appointments was I setting compared to how many appointments was I converting, right? How many listing appointments am I going on compared to how many am I taking, right? I realized I was going on a lot of appointments, but I wasn't taking a lot of listings. So now I know, okay, now my weakness is my listing presentation. So then I can practice that, right? But if you don't track your numbers, then you don't know where your gaps are. That's why this daily 10-4 is super important. Now, the best way to track your numbers is to call the same group of people and see the results that you get calling that group of people. So that's why when I say, if you pull up a neighborhood and you pull up a few hundred houses and that's the only area that you're going to call for 3 months, then you can see the production, or you can see the results by calling this one group for 3 months. What did I get from calling this one group? But if you're just calling for sale by owners one day, you call expireds the next day, you call circle prospecting the next day, you're not going to build consistency, and you're not going to know where your gaps are, right? And then also we'll talk about that later. I don't want to waste too much of your time talking about numbers, but yeah, the daily 10-4 is really, really important. Just I'll get you guys that resource so you can start building a call list and calling that. But let's jump into it for the next 10 minutes. Hi, Caridad. This is Lance with the Cran Group at Keller Williams Realty. Just wanted to reach out to you. You had been on our website looking at some properties for sale. I wanted to see what questions I can answer for you, see if you're finding anything on our website that you like. If you could please give me a call back whenever you get a chance, 786-755-1704. Again, it's Lance with Keller Williams Realty, 786-755-1704. También se habla español. Usted estaba en la página web de nosotros buscando propiedades en venta y quería ver si había alguna pregunta que te pudiera contestar. 786-755-1704. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What I can do to help you. If you could give me a call back, my phone number is 786-444-3192. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. All right, I need to call it back later. Hi, Walter. This is Malek with Keller Williams. How are you? Sure, definitely. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Sounds good. Would you want me to text you my business cards or you have my contact info? I did, yes. Okay, sounds good. Okay, bye.
Bien, entonces te voy a mandar la dirección a este teléfono, ¿ok?
Hello, Louis.
No, no hay ningún problema, te agradezco.
Hey, Louis, it's Lance with Keller Williams Realty.
Saludos allá.
Louis, thank you for taking my call. I was reaching out to you. You had been on our website looking at some properties for sale, and I just wanted to see what questions I can answer for you, see if you saw anything that you liked. Okay. You think you might be looking to buy in the future? Okay. How far out would you say you are? Okay. And Louis, I'm curious, when you do get ready to buy, what type of house are you going to be looking to buy? Okay. Okay. Está bien. Okay. Thank you, Louis. Well, I appreciate you taking my call. If there's any questions that I can answer for you, feel free to reach out. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello. Jenny, ¿cómo estás? Te habla Kevin López, ¿cómo te ha ido? Bien, bien, disculpa que estuve ausente un tiempo, pero es que, como sabes, me senté en mi esposa y estoy viviendo en la casa donde estaba ella. Y bueno,
Good morning. Happy Monday. Am I calling? So I just wanted to update you on everything. So the title company has all the documents. So Jennifer is going to start working on the title transfer, the title search and things like that. I do have a few people interested in the property, so I'll schedule some showings with Michelle see if they're interested in. And what else is that? Oh yeah. Did Fadel call you back yesterday? Did Fadel call you back, my brother? Awesome. It's Monday morning. Sure, take your time. Yes, can you hear me? Perfect. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Young people. Adult friendly. Got it. Okay. Uh, oh yeah, it is. Okay. So he does have a lot of friends that have other properties. So I'll ask him which are the buildings, and then um, okay. Mm-hmm. The central? Mhm. Yeah.
Hey Louis, it's Lance with Keller Williams Realty. Hope you're doing all right. I just wanted to give you a quick call. We met at the house over by Briar Bay. Wanted to just reach out to you, see how everything is going. If you could please give me a call back
Have a
whenever you get a chance, please. 786-223-1682. Again, it's
So,
Lance with Keller Williams Realty, 786-223-1682.
the problem with the
Thanks
central
for
and
reporting it
these
for me. Bye-bye.
buildings, they don't allow short-term rentals. They allow, the minimum that they allow is 1 month. That's the thing. That's why there's not a lot, that's why my brother doesn't have any properties there. How about the Mondrian? I know you went to see the one in South Beach, the Flamingo, and right next to it, there's the Mondrian. Did you see that building? It's a pretty nice building. It has pretty, people.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Hyatt. This is Robert Pino. I'm with the GPR.
And that one allows
As
short-term
you know,
rentals.
your confidential method is expired, but you know, it's going to see if any
The Flamingo.
All right. So while they finish up, what type of results did you get? I heard
I
you.
got an appointment for next Friday, but the person is not ready to buy until the end of the year. But at least he said that we can get together.
Nice,
And
man.
then, yeah, the other ones, 3 of them didn't answer.
Yeah.
The other 3 that I called, I only called 8. Then the other 3 that not ready, but I told them that I'm doing real estate like full time now.
Mhm.
So, in case they know somebody or.
Perfect. Hey, so that's an appointment set. That's awesome. And
It's people that I know for.
it's an appointment. I'm going to track that as an appointment. So I would track that as a, you call somebody, you set an appointment to meet with them, check that as an appointment.
Okay.
Now, what's going to happen at the end of the year that's going to allow them to buy?
I'm sorry, come again?
What's going to happen at the end of the year?
They said they rented an apartment and the lease expires on November the 20 something, he said.
Got it.
So I told him that I'm doing this full time and I can help him to get a new property, and there's a lot of new programs out there in the market.
Mhm.
First time buyer, and say, okay, I'll let you hear about it, but it's gonna be until next Friday, not this Friday, and the following.
Next Friday. No worries. So I would ask him if it made financial sense to buy now, if he would be willing to break his lease to do so. The reason I ask that, especially in this market, is a very powerful question, right? Who knows what he's paying? He's probably paying, well, if he's renting $2,000, 2,500 max. I mean, who knows what his rent is, right? Is it worth it to lock in a really low interest rate today and take advantage of buying today, and break that lease, and then go over the numbers with him? If you want help on actually going over the numbers, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
But I would ask him, like, if it made financial sense, right? Do you want to miss out on an opportunity to get a really low interest rate and lock in a low monthly payment today because you want to wait to save $2,000 on his lease? That $2,000 that he may save may cost him $20,000 over the life of the loan, or $30,000 over the life of the loan if rates go up, right? So I would ask him if it made financial sense to buy now as opposed to waiting to the end of the year. And either way, if he says, hey, you know what, let's wait until the end of the year, fantastic. That's great that we're starting now, because there's a lot of things that have to happen before you're even able to buy. So it's really important that we get together now, start the process now, start getting you in contact with the lender, make sure that we have a pre-approval, all that stuff, right? So these are the reason I mentioned that. We're gonna get in. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Real quick, we're gonna get into in a little bit about qualifying buyers.
That was my question.
Okay.
That was my question.
So what was the question?
Yeah, I mean, how, because I know these people, but I know that it has to make sense. Like, there's a lot of people, I have some friends that they do in real estate that knew also.
Mhm.
And they tell me, I've been in a few appointments, but then the buyers didn't qualify for the loan, and then I waited like 2 weeks. And how do you like filter those people? I mean, what would be the best way to qualify a buyer?
Yeah.
Because like I said, mainly my business comes from referrals, and they already pretty much, till now, they're ready to go. I got some cash deals, the majority of them they've been cash deals.
Yeah. So the best way that I found to qualify somebody is to always start with the motivation, right? What's prompting their move? Why are they deciding to make the move now? Why are they deciding to buy? Why are they deciding to sell? Right. And I don't just mean like if somebody wants to buy a house, right? I'll give you an example. Somebody may tell you, oh, I'm just tired of paying rent. I want to pay something towards something that's going to be mine, right?
Right.
All right. Well, what's important about paying your mortgage as opposed to paying your rent? What's important about that for you, right? They may say, oh, I'm just tired of throwing away money. Fantastic. So ultimately, putting money towards your own property and towards your own investment, what is that going to do for you, right? And really dig deep onto why they want to buy, not just, oh, I just don't want to spend money on rent. Because regardless, they're going to have a monthly payment. Is it going to be rent? Is it going to be owning, right? And when it's as simple as I just don't want to pay rent, personally, what I found a lot of times is that when you don't dig deeper and find the true motivation, then it's very easy for them to say, well, I'll just keep renting, right? But if you know what their motivation is, then when things get frustrating, when they feel like, hey, maybe it's not worth it, or we're not finding the right house, well, now you can pull back on that motivation and say, hey, listen, I know that it's tough right now. We may not be finding exactly what you're looking for, whatever the case is, but ultimately, these are the steps that are going to get us to your ultimate goal of whatever, building equity in your own home, starting to build your net worth, whatever their real motivation is. When things get a little tough, we can refer back to that motivation, right? Now, that's where I would start. And then you want to start getting into the financial stuff, right? How much do you have in order to invest into this property, right? How much money do you have saved? How much money do you have saved that you're willing to put into the property, right? Ask them those type of questions. What's your credit like, right? How much debt do you have a lot of debt? Like the financial questions, that's usually just what I ask. Like, do you have any money saved? Where's your credit at? If they tell me they have, 25, 30,000, 20,000, like a decent amount of money. Okay, fantastic. That's good money, and congratulate them. Hey, congratulations on being able to save that much money. That's awesome. Congratulations, right? Where's your credit at? If they tell me that they're more than like a 625, the lowest you can buy is 620, right? If they tell me I have a 640, 650, oh, I don't know, I think it's too low, right? Well, look, you're past the minimum requirement, and the only difference that is going to make is if you get to like a 770, 775, 760, around that range is when you'll start to see lower interest rates. So are you willing to wait the time that it's going to take to get your credit up 100 points to get maybe a tiny fraction of a lower interest rate? Or do you want to take advantage now that rates are low because you already qualify for your loan, right? So you want to ask those type of questions. Where's your credit? And then do you have a lot of debt, right? That question I ask just to have an idea. But ultimately, the lender is going to be the one to really analyze that debt. I want to kind of know if they tell me that they have, I have, 15 credit cards and I have 4 cars, right? Then, it might be a little bit of an uphill battle, right? But if they just tell me, no, I just have my car and 1 credit card, right? Okay, then they don't have a lot of debt. So they're conscious of what it's going to take to at least to qualify for the loan, right? So, but anything more than that, I'll refer them to a lender, right? If they tell me, I'm just not sure if I'll qualify, whatever. Hey, look, I'm not sure if you'll qualify either. The best thing we can do is put you in contact with a lender and have a professional tell you. Ultimately, I'm not going to lend you the money. I'm just going to help you find the house. So let's put you in contact with somebody that is going to lend you the money.
So it will be the first step once you find and you ask all these questions and you think that, that person will be able to they will qualify for a loan, then you just refer to a lender.
Refer them to the lender. Yeah, refer them to a lender. Have the lender reach out to them. I always give the lender the buyer's phone number. Hey, is it okay with you if I give your phone number to this lender so that they can reach out to you and get the process started? Let's just have the conversation of, can you get qualified yet, right? And usually when you pitch it that way, is it okay if I give your phone number to the lender? They usually just say yes, that's fine, right? Have the lender reach out to them, and then whatever they need, just follow up with the buyer until they get the lender that information. And then again, it's all a follow-up. You're gonna have to be on top of them to make sure that they get their information to the lender. Make sure you're on top of the lender that they can get qualified, right? Make sure that the lender is, actually reviewing their paperwork and doing things in a timely manner, right? But yeah, find out their motivation, right? Find out what the true reason for buying is. A little bit of financial pre-qual. Find out if they have any money. Find out if they have, some good credit. If they have any, if they have any outstanding debt, and then yeah, refer them to the lender. The last part that I ever talk about with a buyer is, what do you want to buy? Because that's the easy part. What do you want to buy? That I can find it, right? It's can you buy, right? That's what we really need to get to, is can you buy? Do I actually have a buyer, or do I have somebody that wants to buy? There's a difference, right? Do I have a ready, willing, and able buyer right now, or do I have somebody that wants to buy but may not be ready for another 6 months, like your friend? Ready, willing, and able. And we'll get into that a little bit more in depth later. We'll get into it later. I'll bring something else up later. You had a question?
Yeah, sorry, I got into the middle, but that reminded me, one of the Facebook ads, as soon as I called, she was like, I'm pre-approved, I need this, which was she wanted a house for like $3K in Kendall. It was kind of like unrealistic, even though she got pre-approved for 4K.
Okay.
And I didn't know how.
400,000. She's approved for 400, but she wants to buy at 300.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of didn't know how to get into, because we know that she's willing, we know that she has pre-approval.
So now you'll hear a lot of that from people that are either pre-approved or they have the money to buy, and it's just an objection that they're trying to give you because they just want you to send them a bunch of properties. That type of buyer, I'm sure I don't know how deep you got into the conversation, but did she tell you, can you just send me properties, or can you
Yes.
just email me? That's what they want. I'm pre-approved, send me properties. If I see something that you like, I'll call you, right? Hey, that's fine. I can send you as many properties as you'd like, but ultimately, these properties may not be available by the time that you're ready, that we get there, right? I'll send you everything that's on the MLS. I'll send you everything, right? I have no problem emailing people properties, right? I'm not going to go show you a property until we meet, right? My ultimate objective for the phone call is to get them into the office for a buyer consultation. That type of buyer is ready and able, may not be willing. And what do I mean by willing? We'll jump into that now. Ready, willing, and able. Ready is I'm looking to buy now, right? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? They're a hot lead. They're looking to buy now. They're able to. They're financially able to purchase the property. And then willing is the most important one for me. Is, are they willing to go through the steps in order for me to work with them? In order for me to consider them to be a buyer, those steps are: send me your information, send me your pre-approval letter, come into the office, let's sit down and have a face-to-face and talk about the steps, right? Let's see if we're a good fit to work with each other, because I want to represent you. Do you want me to represent you, right? I would like to represent you. Would you like me to represent you, right? That's the willing part. And that's the part when you talk to, buyers that say, yeah, I'm looking to buy right now, send me properties. They're usually not willing to go through that final step, right? We have to dig through all the people to find the people that are willing, right? Not just ready and able, but also willing to go through the steps that it takes, right? So
What's the main factor that makes them not willing, since they're not being, they're being represented?
yeah, I'd rather have 10 agents looking for properties for me than just one,
Got it.
right? I like football, right? I'm a huge football fan. There's an old saying is, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. If you have 10 agents, you have no agents, right? If you have 10 agents sending you emails, you have no agents actively looking for properties for you, right? You have nobody that's committed to helping you. You have 10 people that are just going to send you emails and say, hey, yeah, when you see something that you like, give me a call, right? But you have nobody that's actively in the market looking for homes for you. You have nobody that's setting up a game plan, right? You have nobody that, what happens if you have 10 agents sending you emails, and it just so happens that the email that gets sent to you is by, who knows, somebody that doesn't know how to negotiate, somebody that isn't looking out for your best interest. The only thing that they're sending you emails for is to open the door for you and write up the contract, right? Is that the type of representation that you would like? Usually not, right? Let's get together, talk about the benefits of working with me. And if you feel like we're a good fit to work with each other, then I would love to help. If not, at the very least, you'll walk away with a ton of information to help you in your home search.
You don't want to like try to separate yourself from the herd though, when you got like 10 agents competing, like, setting like filtering out like the searches into quality properties, like, doing that follow-ups, like to really separate yourself from the herd to like really land that list, that buyer.
Yeah. So part of what I talk about in the buyer consultation is how all brokers have access to the same information, right? We all have, if you're looking, like if are you trying to set yourself apart by sending them different properties, or set yourself apart by bringing something else to the table?
Well, I mean, like you could send, all of us could send the same 10 listings, but I can shorten my list to 2 and I pick out the best 2 of that 10, right? And then I'd be like, oh, I look forward to Robert's emails because, he's not wasting my time with 8 other junk listings.
Fantastic. So Robert, I would love to only send you properties that you're going to actually like and that are going to fit your needs, right? In order for me to know what you like and what fit your needs, it's best for us to get together and talk about what that is, set up a game plan. It's always the same, right? Yeah, you will separate yourself from the rest of the pack by doing that. But again, how do you know what they're looking for? Because I can go through the list of 10 and pick out the ones that I like the most, but they may not be what they're looking for, right? Sure. So ultimately, yeah, you will set yourself apart from those other 10, but by going through this process of getting together, finding out their needs, and then ultimately, one of the things that I always mention to buyers, especially in this market, is that we're all going to send you information, right? We're all going to send you emails with properties. And the same way that I'm going to send you this list of properties, I'm probably sending it to 15 or 20 other buyers, right? So by the time we get there, it's already been on the market, there's already competition, and you're already going to have to compete. That's fine, right? And we may end up competing. That's absolutely fine. But if you give me the opportunity to make some phone calls and potentially find you something off market where you don't have to compete, do you think that would be of value to you, Robert?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that's kind of me setting myself apart. I'm still going to send you properties, but what I'm going to send you is going to be different from everybody else. Right.
Thank you.
And I did notice that once you meet them and you actually get to know them, you know their needs better than if you just talk to them.
Absolutely.
I noticed in the rentals where whenever I get that first phone call, I always send them things that are not interested in. But then after I actually meet them during showings or, like I get to know them, like, oh, okay, so he wants a patio because he wants to do barbecue. He wants to do this, he wants to do that.
Right.
So you guys.
Yeah. So all that stuff that, and a big reason why this I love this so much is because you ultimately will find out what they want. If you work with somebody long enough, you will find out what they're looking for, what their needs are. We can take 30, 45 minutes now and save 15 hours in showings and showing you stuff that you don't like while the property that you do like is out there getting bought by somebody else, getting rented by somebody else. So that's kind of another value there is, let's save you some time. Let's save you 15 hours throughout the process, just meeting for 45 minutes, because it happens to me too, right? And through conversation at showings or whatever, or through you send them a list and you call them and, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that. You ultimately learn what they like and what they don't like, but you can learn it a lot faster if you just go through the consultation, right? So get your head in the game. I'm on page 10 if you guys are following along with your in your Ignite book. How are we doing on Zoom? You guys have any questions for me?
We're good. I'm good.
Good, perfect. All right, let me know. Just jump in if you have any questions, okay?
Good.
Awesome. So I'm on page 10. If you guys see, there's a little funnel on the bottom of page 10. Finding buyers is simple. It's not hard to find buyers to work with. They visit open houses and look for properties online through your KW app. Buyers are everywhere at all times, essentially raising their hands and saying, work with me, right? Servicing buyers is inexpensive. Buyers are more time consuming than they are costly. Apart from the gas you're putting in your car, as you show homes, your expenses will be very low. And then earning with buyers is quick. If you do it right in a great buyer transaction, you can help that person find a home and write an offer in one day. Working efficiently with buyers is your key to generating income quickly. This is so true when you go through the consultation and you know what they're looking for. I've had it happen where I meet with somebody in the morning and by the afternoon, we're already looking at properties and the next day we're under contract. It can be very efficient if you go through the process. Again, if they're a ready, willing, and able buyer and they're hot and you get them into the office and you go through the consultation, you know what they're looking for. Now it's a little difficult because there's not a lot of inventory. But when they're looking for, like a 3.2 a realistic price and they're okay with condition, you can really get somebody under contract very, very quick, right? Yeah, and it's happened multiple times where in 2 days we're under contract. Now, remember, that's from the time that I met with them to the time we went under contract. A lot of times it's 7, 8, 9 phone calls just to meet with them. So remember, it's not just I'm going to call somebody for the first time and then tomorrow we're going to be under contract. That'll happen, right? It's very possible, but more than likely you're going to have to be talking to somebody for a few months, maybe a few weeks until you finally meet with them. And then the process is very quick, right? After that, it's very quick. So if you look at that funnel, right, it starts with leads. And I made the mistake of considering my leads to be buyers, right? And I had 15, 20 people tell me, yeah, I want to buy this, right? Perfect. I had 15, 20 buyers, right? But again, I was just sending them emails and they weren't buying anything. Maybe one would call me and say, hey, I like this or whatever, right? I thought I had a lot of buyers, but ultimately I really didn't, right? As you get those leads and you start funneling them down to trying to meet with them, of course, naturally, some of them are going to fall off. You're not going to meet with as many people as you have leads. You may not even want to meet with everybody that's a lead, right? Somebody may not be, they may have $2,000 saved and a 600 credit score. Fantastic. It's going to take some time for you to get to be able to buy. Let's set this meeting in a few months from now or a year from now, right? So I may not even want to meet with them right away. Then we're going to get into the agreements part of it. Obviously, not everybody that you meet with is going to sign with you. There's going to be people that you don't click with, that you may decide to turn down. They may decide to turn you down. They may not see the value, whatever it is. Not all the people that you meet with are going to sign with you, right? Now, not all the people that sign with you are going to go under contract. Sometimes they decide to rent. Sometimes they decide to, I've had it happen to me multiple times where, a lot of times where they're renting and the landlord says, hey, just buy the house from me, right? That happens pretty often too. Sometimes, but a lot of times if they already have that relationship with the landlord, the landlord may not want to pay the commission. If it's a for sale by owner, right? Like if it's not listed, they're not obligated to pay commission. So they can just do it off market and you won't get compensated. That happens. It's just part of the game, right? When the landlord catches wind of, oh, they're qualified, they're ready to buy, and they're approved, and they're already living there, and then let me just sell it to them. It'll be a smooth transaction. That happens pretty often as well, right? And then not everybody that you get under contract with is going to close. So ultimately, right, if you want to get to that last part of the funnel, the close, right, the payday, then obviously you need to have more leads at the top. You need to fill it with more to be able to get more on the bottom. All right, so we spoke a little bit about finding buyers and where we find buyers. I know Kevin mentioned Sphere. He mentioned some door knocking. I know you mentioned some database leads as well. I find buyers through my Sphere as well, just people that I know, keeping up with my database and my sphere of influence, calling them very often. For sale by owners are a great way to find buyers. A lot of times agents are calling to pick up their listing, but it doesn't hurt to ask. I always ask whenever I'm talking to a for sale by owner, once you sell, where are you planning on moving to next, right? Did you know that, the same way that you're paying an agent to bring you a buyer, another seller will pay me to bring them a buyer. So I can represent you on your purchase and find you what you're looking for, and it'll be at no cost to you, right? So for sale by owners, I've worked with quite a few for sale by owners, especially in this market, that they can easily sell on their own, and they see the value of having a buyer's agent. They may not want a listing agent right now. Call those for sale by owners and say, hey, what's going to happen once you sell? It's a great way to find buyers. Expired listings. I call a ton of expired listings. I find buyers through there. Circle prospecting, which we spoke about briefly, basically picking out a neighborhood and calling those areas. You'd be surprised how many people are looking to buy a second or third or fourth home in the same neighborhood that they already live in. If you call neighbors and say, hey, are you, who do you know looking to buy or sell? Or are you looking to buy in the neighborhood, or whatever it is? Circle calling is a great way to find buyers. Circle calling is a great way to get contacts. Circle calling, circle prospecting, however you want to call it. Yeah. So while we're on that topic of circle prospecting, I'm going to give you guys that resource that I spoke to you about. It's called Cole Realty. Kevin, you may know about this.
I heard that before. I never used it, honestly.
All right. So
A lot of those don't have phone numbers.
yeah, they're.
I've tried to do circle prospecting one day, and in 2 hours, I called 3 people.
All right, so I believe this is the username and this is the password. If not, it's the other way around. But anyway, Cole Realty Resource,
It's the other way around.
it's the other way around.
Oh, no, yeah, username is the KW.
So Cole Realty Resource is, and Zoom, I'll type it for you guys in the chat. Cole Realty Resource is a resource where you can basically pull homeowner information. You go in there, you pick a specific address, and then you build either like a map search or a radius search around that address, and it'll give you all the available phone numbers. Like I'm sorry.
Man. Can you repeat the last part? You said, how do you get the phone numbers?
So you'll pick an address, right? You put it into Cole Realty, and then you'll pick like either a radius, or you can pick like a square, right? Like in Miami, it's great because Miami is all squares. So you can pick like a subdivision, and it'll be just like 97th to 107th, Bird to Miller. That it's just a big square, and you can just pick that out. You can call that neighborhood. It'll give you any information that's available. Now, you're going to get a lot of contacts that don't have phone numbers. You'll get some that are bad phone numbers, but it's the most accurate system that I found. Even with all its defects, it's still the most accurate system that I found. The numbers that you do get, most of the time are real. When you do get them, obviously you do get some that you don't even have a phone number. You also get an email address too if there's one on file. But you can put, I always click confirmed homeowner and all information available, right? That'll give me just to make sure that it's the person and obviously whatever's available, not just a home phone. If there's a home phone, give it to me. If there's a cell phone, give it to me, all of that stuff. So on the topic of circle prospecting, that's how I get my phone numbers for circle prospecting. I pick a specific neighborhood. I'll jump in the MLS. I'll pick that same neighborhood in the MLS and I'll research the neighborhood. I'll look at prices. I'll look at any actives. I'll look at any closed. The first thing I'll do is I'll look at any expireds and I'll call those people first, right?
Expired.
I'm sorry?
The one that they're expired, is it?
Yeah, so you go on Call Realty, you pick that square and you pull it up in the MLS as well. You just click expired and all the expireds will come up and you just cross-reference that with your list. Is this address on my list? Do I have a phone number? If I do, then I'm going to call them first. I want to call the expireds first. Those are people that have already tried to sell, who we know that at some point wanted to sell, but maybe they weren't successful at doing so. So those are going to be your lower hanging fruit, right? Those are going to be people that I'm going to call.
But
Yeah.
How would expired be your buyers though? How could you? turn-
Sellers usually turn into buyers. So if I pick up a listing and they live there, where are you going to move to next? And then I'll pick them up as a buyer. But this is mainly just circle prospecting. We'll get into a little bit more specific on buyers, but just this is what I do when I'm circle prospecting in general, right? I'll call all the expireds first. I'll do some market research, and then I'll just call the neighborhood, right? Hey, I just wanted to give you some information about your neighborhood. Do you have a quick second? Boom. Hey, there's 2 active listings for sale. Inventory is very low. It's a great time to sell. Have you thought of getting top dollar for your house? Or hey, there's no active listings. It's a great time to sell. Whatever it is, right? You just come up based on whatever information the MLS gives you. If there's a lot of inventory, hey, there's a ton of buyers that are going to buy in your neighborhood. Or there's a ton of houses for sale. Have you thought of buying another house in your neighborhood, right? Or there's nothing for sale in your neighborhood, and there's a lot of buyers looking to buy. Have you thought of selling, right?
Just find a way to
Just find a way, yeah. Just find a way to figure out if they've thought of making a move, right?
So what do you get? Sorry, Lance. What do you get for like scripts for that kind of like conversation?
You can get them in Ignite, in our Ignite script book. If you go in Ignite, if you go,
I checked that before, but is there any other place that we can get scripts or besides the Ignite group?
yeah, I mean, there's a ton of places you can get scripts. You can go online. You can look up Ben Kenney, BenKenney. He's master of real estate. Dude is insane. Ben Kenney. Yeah, he at one point was the #1 agent in all of Keller Williams. Huge team. Now his team is nationwide. He has a lot of good scripts that you can find. Those are the scripts that I use. Ben Kenney is really good. Any real estate resource, you'll find a ton of scripts. But the important thing is to stick to one, right?
And master that one.
Master that one, internalize it, and then ultimately once you internalize it, then you make it your own, right? So
I have a question.
go ahead, Yalitza.
I want to know specifically how you get to the phone numbers of these people, like what platform you're using in order to get the numbers.
Yeah, so that's Call Realty. It's the resource that I just gave everybody here in
Call,
town.
like CALL.
I'm gonna type it in. I'm gonna type it in the chat for you right now.
Thank you.
Only one person at a time can sign up for Realty, right?
Yeah, so if you guys log in, just get your list and then log out real quick.
Are you logged in?
Yeah, I'm gonna have it right now.
Oh, because I'm logged in right now.
No,
You'll be able to log in like a couple, but like if there's like
maybe.
like 6 or 7, probably a little bit more
You
than
mean with
that.
the same
I don't know.
password and the same,
Yeah, using the same. Yeah. So this is a resource that's given to us by the office.
Right.
So if they have like a ton of logins at the same time, then it kind of alerts them and says, oh, there's more than, not that we're allowed to use it, but it thinks of it as like a glitch. Like, why are so many people on at once? So Yaritza, I just sent that resource through the chat. That's where I get the phone numbers to be able to call. Now, I want to keep moving ahead, so I'm just going to finish this up real quick about the circle prospecting, right? Because this isn't really this isn't our main focus for today. But once you have that research, the research in the MLS, and then you start calling, then now you seem obviously like a professional. You seem like an expert in the neighborhood, right? When somebody asks you, well, what's going on? Well, look, we have 2 actives, 500 and 505, and we have 3 sold in the last 6 months around 550, or around 480. So prices are going up. It's a great time for you to sell, right? But when you give them that information, now they're like, oh, this person's knowledgeable. They know what they're talking about. If I ever do want to sell, I want to work with somebody knowledgeable and that's professional, right? So you're setting yourself up to be the neighborhood expert. And then also, open houses is a great way to find buyers. And this market especially is really, really good to find buyers at open houses. Now, inventory doesn't really last long, and we're trying to navigate this now because what we've been doing is we've been posting everything active on like Wednesday-ish, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, where they'll push all the showings to an open house. That's kind of what we've been doing lately. So we'll go active like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe a Thursday, but then we won't show it until Saturday and Sunday. So what happens is usually these open houses have a line of cars down the street, and there's a ton of people looking, right? Now, it's a little different because we are pushing all the showings to the open house. A lot of buyers come with agents, but a lot of buyers don't come with agents, right? And even though, here's one thing that I'm going to mention to you guys. If somebody comes into an open house and you ask them, hey, do you have an agent? Yes, I do. Fantastic. Who are you working with? I always ask who they're working with because a lot of times they don't even know who their agent's name is because we're sending them emails. They find the email, they get the list, and they see open house. Oh, boom, let me go over. They think, oh, I have an agent. Oh, who are you working with? You know that they don't either. They may have an agent, but they're not signed or committed to working solely with that agent, right? So unless that agent is present with them, or they know who they are, or they give me like their agent's business card, it kind of tells me that they're not really 100% committed to their agent, right? So you'll get people that come to your open house and say, yeah, I have an agent, but dig a little bit deeper. Who are you working with? Are you getting everything that you need out of that agent? Are you finding anything that you like? Or, oh, fantastic, you are working with an agent. How come they weren't able to make it today? Call them out on it.
What happens if you go to open house, but it's not your open house? So let's say you have an open house, and I go to your open house, and it will be unprofessional if I like try to like, yeah, right?
Yeah, very.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. You can reach out to agents in the office and see if they, if anybody has a listing that they'll let you do an open house at, and then it's free game. That's all. Anything that comes out of it is yours. But
I'm sorry, what was his question?
If it's ethical to go to an open house, somebody else's open house, and try to get buyers there.
Yeah, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Thank you.
wouldn't. I've had it happen to me, and it's not a good feeling. I wouldn't. Yeah, I've recently I had to call somebody out on it, and it didn't look good for anybody. So I wouldn't do that.
It's better to just go and ask in your office if they have a list and they want to just give you the open house opportunity. Then whatever you get from that open house is yours.
Yeah. You'll work something out with the agent. Most of the time they'll just tell you, hey, whatever you get is yours. Sometimes they'll tell you, hey, if you get like a listing, we'll split it. But whatever, you usually come up with that between the agent. But yeah, I would not go to another open house and try to get buyers from somebody else's
So
open
when you
house.
said, remember, sorry, at the beginning you said previous 10 houses?
Yeah.
So open house kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I go to open houses randomly all the time. But no, I wouldn't go and if I see somebody kind of just wandering around, I wouldn't just ask them like, hey, here,
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not very ethical. I mean, I've had it happen to me and it doesn't feel good on the receiving end. I wouldn't want to do that to somebody else either. Like I said, just recently I had it happen. I was at an open house. I was wrapping up. I was turning off all the lights, and the last showing of the open house, guy comes back. This is, hey, these people want to see the house. They just called me that they were in the area. It's all bullshit. They had just driven up. They saw that my signs were there. The guy was outside by himself, and he brought them in. I asked the buyer. I was like, because I knew what he was doing. I asked the buyer, hey, how do you know him, or is this your agent? And it ended up being BS. I called him out on it, and you don't want to do that in front of your buyer, in front of the buyer, in front of the customer. It's just not a good look for anybody. Yeah. So I would shy away from that. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. So there's a couple stats on page 11, and I'm going to start kind of not rushing through this, but getting through it a little quicker than we have been. 88% of buyers, and this number is actually a lot higher now. As of recently, that number is up to 94%. So 94% of buyers purchase their home through a real estate agent, right? 94%. Almost all houses get sold with an agent involved, right? So there's business out there. There's people buying through agents. You just have to be the agent that they work with. 40% of buyers found their agent through a referral from friends or family. Now, the number seems kind of high. I would love that number to be a lot higher. I think as agents, oftentimes, at least personally, we don't talk to our friends and family as much about business. So sometimes they forget that we're even in the business. It's not, a lot of times it's not on purpose, but they just forget because we're not talking about business every single day. So make sure that you stay in touch with your friends and family. Let them know, remind them, yeah, hey, I'm in the business, by the way. Hey, look, my business runs on referrals. If you know of anybody, I would really appreciate it if you thought of me. A lot of times they don't even know that they can refer us business, right? If you just tell them, hey, you can refer me business. I'm giving you permission to refer me business. Then they'll keep it in mind, right? So just continue to reach out to your friends and family, your sphere, and let them know constantly, hey, I'm in the business, or I'm still in the business. So,
You know what I do? I literally talk to them about my business. Oh, I had this. It's just like over dinner.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and whenever you mention.
Hey, refer me, I just keep.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen what happened to me at work the other day. I was showing this house, or I was at a listing appointment the other day. Just talking about work and reminding them, no, I'm still active. Or also, I was at a listing appointment the other day, or I was at a buyer consultation the other day, and you kind of condition your friends and family to know the process, right? When you have like a referral from somebody, obviously usually it's easier to convert, but also I make it a point to whoever I'm working with, whether it's my mom, my sister, anybody, friends or family, that I still go through the same process, because I want them to, when they're going to refer me business, hey, Kevin, listen, I'm going to refer you to Lance. He's probably going to ask you to come into the office, so just set some time aside, because when I wanted to buy, that's what he told me to do, right? But if I tell you, hey, no, Kevin, look, you're my brother, it's just, I'll just send you emails, whatever. Hey, call Lance. He's just going to send you emails. Once you find something, you give him a call. And when you set them up and set the expectations with the people you work with or your friends and family, then when they refer you business, they're going to refer business that's usually, okay with going through the process. Same thing when we take a listing at a discounted commission, right? You set yourself up as that discount agent. Hey, call Lance, he'll do it at 5%, or he'll do it at 5.5%, whatever it is. You don't want to set yourself up as like a discount agent or as an agent that doesn't have a system, right? So just keep that in mind when you are, talking to friends and family, working with them.
Let me ask you a question, man. If somebody, a friend or family member refers somebody to you, are we allowed to give them some kind of compensation?
Not if they don't have a license.
Understand.
12% of buyers used an agent they had used in the past. Again, that's very, very low. Yeah. Traditionally, agents, we sell people houses and we don't ever call them again, right? And I think a big part of that is the average cycle is around 7 years where somebody will move. A lot of times within 7 years, you're either not in the business anymore, you don't have that person's phone number. it's been 5 years, you feel bad calling them 5 years later, whatever the case is. It's really important to have those systems once you close with somebody to continue to follow up with them. And they've already gone through your system. They've hopefully gotten great service, and those are going to be the people that are going to be comfortable referring you. I was able to buy. Lance made it possible for me to buy. He'll make it possible for somebody else to buy as well. All right. All right. There's a quick video. It's called Find the Motivated. I'm going to show that to you guys real quick. Guys on Zoom, can you see my screen?
It's loading, yes.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client that's ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3, so now you've got the appointment, you want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with you. Tip number 4, use embedded command. When you get in front of the people face to face at your appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end and they'll sign that contract and then you can move forward. The last step is you sign them up and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
What do you guys think? What are your ahas? What are your takeaways of that video?
That we're always looking for opportunities in everywhere that we go and everybody that we meet. We're always looking for that opportunity and be observant
Definitely.
of what is going on in their life and how we can pretty much put our business out there.
Awesome.
It kind of adds up with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Always being on the lookout for whether it's in our surroundings or when we go out.
Yeah. My biggest aha is finding the real reason why somebody wants to make a move, right?
Motivation.
Their motivation. Oh, you have a growing family. That's a big reason why you're going to need to move, right? You have, you're moving in with somebody, you're getting engaged, or you're going to get married. That's a huge reason to make a move, right? That's not something that's usually something that will happen, right? A baby coming is going to happen, right? The space is going to get smaller. It's inevitable. So let's start that conversation now and point those things out, so that when that time does come, when they are ready to move, that you're the one that they think about. So that's a huge aha for me. Anybody else have any ahas or anything else that stood out to them about the video?
Yeah, at the end, asking for referrals is important.
Mhm.
Because once you took that customer to the closing table and they feel comfortable with you, they like to do business with you, will be easy for them to find, think about somebody who's gonna be able to like buy soon and they will happy to refer because they were happy with the service.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah, and we'll ask for referrals throughout the process as well, right?
Yeah, not
While
only at
we're
the end.
right, not just at the end. While we're looking at houses, while we're under contract, you know, at every step of the way, I'm going to ask for referrals. All right. So there's some market research that that we should do when we're working with buyers. And there's a couple questions that they'll usually ask, and I want to go through those questions with you and see how you guys would answer them. So if a buyer tells you what's available in my price range, how would you answer that?
What was the question again?
Find out what's their price range.
Right. What's available in my price range? That was the question. So obviously you want to ask, well, what the price range is. And then I always ask, well, how did you come up with that price? Right. Did
That's
you,
for buyers?
yeah.
And what's
available
included in
what
in
can I buy?
that price.
Wouldn't that depend mainly on their pre-approval?
Right. So how did you come up with that price? Are you pre-approved? Have you been looking online? How did you come up with, oh, I want to buy for $400,000? Do you have a certain amount of money saved? How did you come up with that price of 400 or 450, whatever the number is, right? And that's how you start the pre-qualifying, right? If they say, oh, you know, I spoke to a lender and they told me that that's kind of where I'm going to be. Okay, fantastic. So you have been in contact with the lender. That's awesome. Congratulations on taking the first step, right? If they tell you, oh, you know, I don't know, I've just been looking online. Okay, great. Have you seen anything that have you seen anything that you like online? Or from what you've been seeing online, have you gone through any calculators and calculated what your monthly payment is going to be, right? You kind of get into the next questions after that. But how did you come up with that price is a very important question to ask. Go ahead, Kevin, you had a question?
Yeah, what's the difference between, because I heard customers, people already like ask, when they call me, oh, I'm pre-qualified by a property.
Yeah.
And I've been pre-approved, so what's the difference between?
So a lot of times the buyers don't even know the difference. The difference is a pre-approval is I make this much money and I have this much debt. Okay, you're approved for 300,000. A pre-qualified.
They already talked to a lender already at that point. So
Right. Yeah. So if you're the lender, hey Kevin, look, I make $100,000 a year and I have 20,000 a year in expenses. So I take home 80, whatever. Okay, hey Kevin, great. Based on that little bit of information that you've given me, you're pre-approved for 300,000, right? In order for me to pre-qualify you, I'm gonna need you to send me your tax returns. I'm gonna need you to send me your credit report. I'm gonna need your social security number so I can run your credit and then verify that what you're telling me is accurate. If it is, then I'll pre-qualify you, right? Now, there's also another type of pre-qualification called a DU, a digital underwriting. That's like the strongest form of a pre-qual that you can get. Essentially what that is you're approved for the loan. We just need to find you the property, right? We've confirmed all the debt. We've reviewed all your income. We've ran the numbers. We've done the underwriting. Your ratios are fine. These are all like lender terms. You'll start to learn them. But we've already done all the underwriting, which is the confirmation of the information that of all the information that you've given us. We've already verified it. The only thing that's pending is you finding a property. That's like the strongest type of pre-approval. Yeah, that's like the strongest thing you can get. Now, in multiple offer situations, if you have a DU over somebody that has like a pre-approval or a pre-qualification, it's going to stand out because now the seller knows, all right, this person is ready to go. They're not going to fall through due to financing.
Can you ask that, like, for example, if I'm the listing agent, can I ask for the DU from the buyer's agent?
Yeah.
Is it okay to do that?
Yeah, you can. They may not always have it, or they may not have it right away, but you can always ask for it. And that's a good way to see how qualified the buyer actually is if you ask. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah. Well, not so much how serious. They may be super serious personally, but their lender may not be able. You know, their lender may not have done that work yet, right? So that's a good way to see like.
But if you did the work, then you don't know exactly what they're pre-approved for.
Well, if they're pre-qualified, they've verified most of the information. A DU, a digital underwriting, and this would be probably a better conversation to have with a lender, exactly what it is that they verify. But what I've been told from lenders is that essentially what it means is all we need is to find the property.
How long does it take to get to the DU? It's saying that like I give you on day one, all the paperwork that we need,
Yeah, it depends on the lender. I would say like if your lender's taking more than like,
7 days.
yeah, I mean, if they're taking more than like 2 weeks to pre-qualify somebody, then I would start to have a conversation with the lender, like, hey, where are we at? What's going on? But yeah, I would say turnaround time would probably be like, because, and it also depends on the type of buyer too. If it's like a clean cut W-2, no debt buyer, easier to pre-qualify. If it's like a business owner who has a 1099 or whatever, like us,
Yeah.
right, where their income is different month to month or whatever, then it may take them a little longer because there's more steps to verify. But I would say more than like 2 weeks, I would start to be on top of the lender and push them a little bit faster. So the next question, I don't think I can afford to buy a house. Now that's a great question as well. And I always ask, well, how did you come to that conclusion, right? What made you think that you can't afford to buy a house? And then ask them, right? And then find out, well, they may say, well, I don't have 20%, right? Fantastic. Hey, look, Kevin, oftentimes buyers think that they need a lot more money than they actually do in order to buy. Do you have any money saved? How much money do you have saved, right? And then you start getting into the pre-qualifying questions, right? All the financial pre-qualification.
You can offer another like option like an FHA program.
Yeah. Hey, did you know, Kevin, that you don't need 20%? You can buy with as little as 3.5%. Why don't we put you in contact with the lender and see if we can get you pre-approved, right? So if I don't think I can afford to buy a home, well, how did you come up with that conclusion? Let's see if it is possible, right? A lot of times people think that they can't when they actually can.
Do you
Yeah,
find,
Sorry, go
go
ahead.
do you find most of your buyers will just do like a 5% down on a conventional?
Yeah, somewhere between like 5 and 10 is where most buyers will usually come
Because
in.
they just really, they're eager. Like, I it's more like back in the day was it more like 20% like before the PMI, right?
Yeah, nowadays, because rates are so low, a lot of for the last like few years, since they've been in like the 4s to like 3 to 4 range, a lot of buyers are willing to just pay the PMI and lock in that low rate because they know at some point the PMI will be gone. But I'd rather just buy now when I can, as opposed to waiting to save an extra 15%, right?
For conventional, there's no PMI.
So you know, that's when-
Yeah.
Yeah, there is at the beginning.
There is, yeah,
There
yeah, until you get to 20% equity.
You do FHA for life.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's
Okay, so that's the difference.
yeah. FHA is for the life of the loan. It's for as long as you have that loan, you're gonna pay PMI. With a conventional loan, no matter what, no matter how much equity. Yep.
you can
Yeah.
just refi
Yeah,
out.
you can just refi. Once you have enough equity, you just refi to a conventional, and you won't have PMI.
So to refinance from an FHA loan to a conventional, you still have to get 20% equity?
Yeah.
That's the minimum for you to be able to refinance?
Right. But if you have, let's say you buy FHA, right, and you've lived in that house for 7, 8 years, prices have gone up a little bit, you've paid down a lot of your mortgage, and you have between equity, appreciation and pay down, you have 20%. Well, then now you can call your lender and say, hey, I have 20%. Let's do a refi, and then they'll readjust your mortgage.
If I'm deviating, let me know, and I'll save this question for later. But what is your rebuttal for people that like? I know because I hear you guys constantly say, well, it's lock in this low rate, lock in the low rate, but you have this, inflated home price right now, right? Because
Yeah.
of the demand in the market. I don't know where Miami market's going to be later on, but once interest rate rise, shouldn't home values come down? And if people be like, I'd rather just lock in a lower loan amount with a higher interest rate, which I could refinance because I can't refinance out of a high loan amount. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I get what you're saying, and that's a great point, right? That's a very valid point. Now, if you were buying cash, I'd be the first person to tell you, hey, let's hold off and let's wait for prices to go down.
Yeah.
But the money that you're going to be potentially wasting by waiting for prices to come down, right? Maybe money that you could save just by buying now, right? And ultimately, nobody has a crystal ball, so we
Yeah.
don't know when prices are going to come down. And if prices come down in 3 years from now, what is the money that you're going to be spending over the next 3 years, right? Traditionally, real estate goes up in value, and you only lose money when you sell, right? So I would rather lock in a low monthly rate right now. And I always ask, right, the important question that I like to ask is, what's more important to you? Is it the money that you pay monthly, or is it the money that you pay for the house? If you're anything like me, I live based on what it's my monthly obligation, right? I'd rather lock in a lower monthly obligation today than wait for prices to come down, finance less, and then potentially have a higher interest rate and just spend that money towards interest, right? Even if I have a higher payment now, majority of that payment is going to be going towards not majority, more of it is going to go towards my principal now than it will be at a higher interest rate with a lower loan amount. You know what I'm saying? So even though my price is a little bit higher, my equity pay down, my debt pay down is still the same. And it's actually even better now because rates are so low. Right? If I'm paying 5% interest, then that other, percentage, if my payment is $2,000, right, and I want to stay at that $2,000 payment, right, at 5%, less of it is going towards principal than at 3%. So my payment's going to stay the same, but more of it is going to go towards my equity, my
Also, you
mortgage.
could just be off a little faster if you add additional payments to the principal.
Yeah, you just added, I have a couple.
Say, only one of the things, I don't know if it's a good argument, but we say, hey, anyways, the first few years that you're gonna be paying your mortgage is mainly gonna go to your interest rate.
Yep.
So in these first few months, a few years, you're gonna be, if you wait, the interest rates will go higher and you're gonna eventually lose more money.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah,
you're
so
gonna
the-
pay more interest.
So
Is that what
there's a
you said?
lose,
Yeah, in a nutshell, yeah, the higher interest rate, the more you're going to pay towards interest. And if you're going to be paying it anyway, why not just pay it towards your principal as opposed to your interest, So it's a very valid point, right? And that's my honest answer. Look, if you were buying cash, I'd be the first person to tell you, let's wait for prices to come down, right? If you can afford to wait for prices to go down. But even still, and this, I don't want to go on a tangent, but even if you are buying cash, how much value is your cash losing in the bank as opposed to gaining equity in a property, right? Or
And if you're investing, the one that I just sold, not sold, but I had my investor buy an investment property, right?
cash.
Cash.
Yeah.
Oh, cash. If you're paying it right now, you have more chance of renting it out for a higher price.
Mhm.
So what's the point of waiting
Yeah.
for the prices to go down if you can make more money now?
Exactly. So a lot of times when you kind of like analyze the situation, I'm always of the idea, let's just act now, right? Let's just act now. I'd rather have my money sitting in a property where traditionally is going to go up in value as opposed to it sitting in the bank where it's going to lose value, right? Even if I'm going to pay a little bit of a premium now. And in any market, there's deals to be found, right? You may be paying more for a house today than you would have a year and a half ago. But if we find you a good deal in today's market, even though you're paying more than you would have a year ago, it's still a good deal in terms of today's market, right? But yeah, ultimately, I'm of the idea of let's act now.
Thank you.
What's the percentage increase in the real estate market in Miami, like those housing prices that yearly, like it's like
5.4% in Miami-Dade County is the yearly average. 5.4. That's traditionally. Now, the last year and a half has been like in some areas close to 20%, right? Now that's obviously not sustainable, but traditionally it's 5.4%, and that's like I think the national average is like 3.2%.
that's
So
national.
national, but Dade County is 5.4. Traditionally, for the last 20 something years, has been 5.4%.
What are your sources, like NAR?
NAR, yeah. So that's Miami-Dade County's average. So especially being in Miami-Dade County, right? There's a lot of value in buying real estate here in Miami, right? That's another thing, and I think a lot of buyers take it for granted because they live here and they don't know anything else. But when you start to look at numbers and like actually, so yesterday we did a seminar on the power of homeownership, and mainly what we were talking about is building your net worth through real estate, right? And how buying in Miami-Dade County is one of the best investments that you can make because traditionally appreciation is the highest, one of the highest in the nation. There's
In the nation.
in the nation, yeah, where the national average is 3.2% or something like that. I think the next highest is like San Francisco, and then like New York, right? And then even New York now is not even as strong anymore because there's a lot of people moving out. Yeah, so we're one of the strongest markets in all of the country. So when you're living here and you don't really consider that, right? And you point it out to a buyer, it's very valuable, right? So yesterday's seminar, we were talking a lot about that and how, so on that topic, and this would be great for you guys to work with, to mention to your buyers. Do you know what the average net worth of a renter is at the age of retirement, 65? Take a wild guess.
Less than 25,000.
Yep, lot less. The average is $5,000 net worth of a renter by the age of retirement, right? The average net worth of a homeowner by the age of retirement is $245,000, right? So just by owning a home, your average net worth by the time you retire is around 40, I think the number is like 43% higher, or 43 times what it would be if you were renting.
Can you
Okay.
say it again?
Yeah, it's $5,000 average net worth for a renter at retirement, and 245 of a homeowner at retirement. Huge jump. And remember, guys, buyers have payments. I mean, renters have payments. So you
Just paying someone else's mortgage.
you're gonna have that note every single month, right? Why not have that be a savings account in 30 years when you go to retire, right? So that's some of the value of being able to buy, and whenever I have a tenant, right, like this conversation that we just had of, well, what if I just wait or whatever? If you're renting, I don't think it's an option for you to wait, because regardless of whether you buy now or in 3 years from now, you're still going to have that monthly payments. Why not start building that equity today, right? Even if prices are high or whatever the case is, you're still going to be paying that money every single month. Let's have that be, put into a property. And on that conversation, right, a lot of times what will happen is, well, okay, well, all right, fine, let's buy something. And then you get into, well, I can't buy what I want right now. I get it. You may not get the 5-4 with the garage and the pool on the corner lot right now, right? But you can buy and take advantage of the fact that somebody's lending you money, right? And start paying down that equity, wait for the appreciation, and maybe in a few years when you do have 20% equity, 30% equity, you can sell, take that cash, and then put it into your next purchase. Now, if you're buying, let's look at it strictly from a numbers point of view. If I'm buying a $350,000 house at 3.5%, I'm looking at like $14,000, $15,000 down, right? Plus another, let's say 12 to 15 for closing costs. My first initial investment, my cash to close, around 30 grand, right? My payments at that price, 350, you're looking at like $1,900 to $2,100, right? In the first year alone, between appreciation, mortgage pay down, and tax incentives, at $350,000, you're looking at a year one return on investment of around $33,000, right? Those are real numbers, and we can go through the math if you'd like. But on year one, you're already making back what you initially invested.
You're getting back your money that you invested in buying the property.
Yep.
The first year.
In the first year, buying at 350 with an FHA loan
3.5.
at 3.25.
Two questions. One, since you're very factual, what's the average difference of how much more someone's paying on rent compared to a mortgage note?
That I don't know. We calculate if the payment was the same, right? So if you're paying $1,900 a month for rent compared to $1,900 that you would be paying at 350, then that's what the numbers would be. Year one is like 33,500. I can actually get you the exact number. But year one of renting is 1,900 a month with zero at the end of the year.
I was gonna ask second thing, if look at their else, can we actually
Yeah,
go
that's
through
an
those
expense.
numbers?
You don't have an investment there when you rent.
So if we go 350, and we're gonna use the average of the last 2 years of appreciation, right? Because obviously last year was kind of a fluke year. The average is 7%, right? So you're looking at 350. Your appreciation year one is $24,500. That's your appreciation. $24,500. That's your appreciation in the property. So from 350, your property is worth somewhere around 370, 375 now, right? Now, your principal reduction. This is your mortgage payments every single month. How much of that is going towards your principal? At 3.25%, year one principal reduction is $6,762 in principal reduction.
Say again?
6,762, 6,762. That's with 4% down, so 3.5. If you do the math on 3.5, it's like a few $100s less.
So we're talking about a price of 50,000.
350 with
1.25% interest
right
and
3.5% down.
How much?
3.5. Yeah. Yeah.
Like FHA.
FHA. Yeah. This is, and that's now the average price in Dade County is a little bit higher. But for the last like 10 years, the average prices have been around 350. You can still find something for 350. And FHA loan limits have gone up recently, so you can buy even up to like 400 with FHA. So the same 3.5% down on between 350 to 400, your payment changes a couple of dollars a month.
Those examples including PMI.
This is including PMI. Yeah. So remember that principal reduction is only the part of your mortgage that's principal. Yeah, but this example is including PMI. Yeah. And then your tax savings, right? Because you do get to write off your interest on your mortgage payments. Your year one tax savings, and this is actually a credit that you get when you get your income tax returns, is $2,393, $2,393.
Homestead property, right?
That's just your tax benefits on paying your interest on your mortgage. You can write off the interest that you've paid on your mortgage, and you'll get that as a credit when you do your tax return. That's, I'm not sure about the investment. Yeah, but on your primary residence, you can write off the interest.
Okay.
I'm sure that on an investment, you probably could, but it'll just be deducted from the properties. I'm sorry.
If it's an investment and you're making money out of it, whatever the interest rates can be deducted into your assets because that's something you pay.
Yeah, I'm sure you do get. I'm sorry.
Or something of that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do get some sort of tax benefit or tax credit. But this is just strictly for primary residence. So we're at 2393, right? So we're at for between appreciation 24.5,
$33,655.
$32,655. Exactly the number they're at. So that's year one
When you
net worth gain
when you are a homeowner.
when you're a homeowner, right? Now, that's at a $1,900 a month monthly payment.
Say it again?
$1,900 a month. That same $1,900 renting, you're gonna have zero to show for it at the end of the year. You can't get any tax write-offs. You don't have any appreciation. You don't have any principal reduction. Yeah, you have a roof over your head, fantastic, but you don't get any of the other benefits of owning.
How do you wait to approach, what somebody wants to push them to buy?
Yeah.
When you try to offer, like the services?
Yeah, of course,
So a lot of
it's
people don't
very,
know
very
this
valuable.
number.
They don't, and when you lay it out for them that way, and you say, listen, the money that you're investing now to be able to buy is going to be placed in a savings account, right? I think of a property as a savings account, right? And that's the way that I explain to buyers. You're putting money every single month into your mortgage, but every single month that mortgage balance is coming down, and that balance, right? If your price stays here and your balance is here, boom, 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 that gap is called your equity. That equity is money that's yours, right? You sell it, you get that money. You refinance, you get that money, right? But that money is yours. As long as prices don't go down, and even if they do go down, you just wait it out because prices traditionally will go up.
And then when you're a renter, you have nothing.
When you're and that's considering, right? That's considering that your landlord doesn't raise your rent because your lender is not going to raise your mortgage, right? You have a fixed interest rate. Your taxes, your property taxes may change slightly, but if it's your primary residence, you have your homestead exemption, your taxes won't go up much per year, right? That's considering that your landlord doesn't say, hey, you know what, next year when your lease is up, 2,100. The next year after that, 2,200.
So you should be a little less so because when they appraise your property finally, the tax assessment, you should end up paying more, right? Taxes.
Yeah. So from your new purchase, yeah, your year one taxes are going to be less than your year two taxes, but year 2 to 3, the difference won't be much. When you have a homestead exemption, the limit is a 3% increase per year on your property taxes. Yeah. So if you're paying homestead exemption, if your property taxes are $5,000 a year, the most that it can go up the next year is $150.
So the percentage will be
3% max. So again,
Every year.
yeah, every year. Yeah. So it'll like so year one, I mean, you might see a jump from like 40% sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Because when the previous owner owned it to the time now that you bought it, the price obviously has changed and you'll see the big jump.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's
Um,
also amazing, that's why when you, when they show on the MLS, base, the tax, rate on that property is based on that particular homeowner.
Correct.
So then you will pay the difference, let's say, for example, you buy it in July, so you have to calculate the tax that you're gonna pay at the end of the year, which is November, correct?
Yeah.
So then the following year, you're gonna get the increase.
On the new
On
price.
the new price.
Right. Yeah. So from July until December, you're gonna pay what the current owner was paying. From next year to January until December of next year, then you'll pay an
You'll
increase.
see the jump there.
Yeah, you'll see the jump, right? And a lender will usually calculate that, and they'll kind of give you an idea so that you know, hey, my payment's not going to jump up so much. That's really important too, because a lot of times buyers will ask like, oh, what's the taxes on the property, right? And you can't really base what they're paying now compared to what you will be paying. So I always mention this, and they're only paying, like I've seen some properties where the owners are the original owners from like the 70s and they're paying like $1,000 a year in taxes. Oh, the taxes are super low on this property. I want to buy this. Hey, it's going to jump. It's going to jump a lot, right? So, and you want to let them know that, because if the next year goes from 1,000 to 7,000, and they're like, hey, what happened? My taxes jumped up $6,000. What happened? Well, you want to let them know beforehand, hey, that's going to go up, right? All right. Next question. I'm thinking about waiting. Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Next question. I'm thinking about waiting until next year. I already answered this with Kevin. What's going to happen next year, or what's going to happen in the next few months, or what's going to happen by then that's going to allow you to buy, right? And I always say like allow, right? Because are you not allowed to buy? Like it's kind of like a mental like cue, like a psychological thing of like, oh, am I not allowed to buy, or do I not want to buy, right? If it's a want that you just want to wait, right? Then that's usually an objection. We can work around that and maybe able to handle that objection. If they tell me, hey, I want to wait for prices to go down, I think by the end of the year they'll go down, right? That's an objection. If they tell me, no, I'm going to relocate for work at the end of the year and that's when I'm going to buy, that's a condition. That's not something that we can really overcome, right? But it's important to know what it is, to know that if you because I asked Kevin, I don't know if you were here when we were talking about it, but Kevin set an appointment with a buyer for next Friday, and they said that they're not ready to buy until November because their lease ends. So I told Kevin, ask them if it made financial sense for you to buy now, would you consider breaking your lease and doing so, right? Or is it a condition that, oh, in November something's going to happen, or is it I just want to live out my lease, right? So find out what it is, and then either handle it or wait it out.
When you break the lease, the only penalty is you just got to pay the remainder of the lease, right, to get out of it.
Sometimes you just lose your deposit. So if it's like if your rent is $2,000 and it's a matter of losing your $2,000 deposit, that $2,000 may end up costing you whatever $15,000 over the next year in money that you're going to be paying a landlord.
Normally not having to pay the remainder of the.
It depends on whatever lease agreement they have. Yeah. So I mean, if it's just lose your deposit, right? And which in most cases, if you're like 3-4 months out, they'll just tell you, yeah, we're just gonna hold on to your deposit. If you only have $1,500, $2,000 in escrow, then that 6 months might cost you $9,000 in money lost, right? So if it made financial sense to buy now, would you consider it? Or is it a condition that no, in November I'm waiting for a bonus check and that's gonna be my down payment? Okay, well then we have to wait till December, right? Can you help me find investment properties? Absolutely, I can help you find investment properties. And then I always ask, what type of investment are you looking to make, right? Are you looking to flip? Are you looking to buy and hold? And I want to kind of find out how experienced of an investor they are. And then I always ask, what type of returns are you looking to make on your investment? Right, that's a very important question. I work with a lot of investors, but I only work with realistic investors. If somebody tells me, hey, I want to flip today in today's market and I want to make 75% profit, it's a little unrealistic, right? But if somebody tells me, hey, I'm okay with like a 20-25% return, okay, that's realistic. That's something we can work with. I know that they're probably experienced, they're realistic, they know what their costs are going to be, and I can deliver on results like that, right? if somebody is telling me that they want like a 70% return, I'm gonna have to make a lot more phone calls to find them a good deal at a 70% return, than somebody that is looking that's okay with like a 20, 25% return. And if there is something out there with a 70% return, I'll probably buy it myself. So I'm not gonna send it to an investor. So I always ask, what type of return are you looking to buy, looking to make? Now, next question, and this one we all get a ton. I can afford about $1,500 per month for my living expenses, and I'd like to live in a neighborhood of high-priced homes where the buyer cannot afford that price, right? I always ask, what's important about that neighborhood to you, right? What does that neighborhood have that your neighborhood now doesn't have, right? And find out why they want to move to that neighborhood or what's important about that, and see what other neighborhood you can find with those similar qualities, right? I'll give you a very, very good example. I work the South Miami area a lot, and South Miami has 57th Avenue, Red Road. 57th Avenue divides Coral Gables and South Miami. I want to live in Coral Gables, and I can only afford $700,000. The house that I want in Coral Gables is $1 million. All right, well, are you okay with getting one block over into South Miami where you can afford the house and get everything that you're looking for, but you're just not going to be in that specific neighborhood? Oftentimes, when you find them what they're looking for, but just in a different neighborhood, they're okay with it. But again, you don't know why they want that neighborhood until you ask, right? Find out what specific qualities about that neighborhood they really like.
The schools could be like, they have family members that live in that area.
Yeah, so if they have family members that live, let's say they have family members that live close to Bird Road, right? But they can't afford in that neighborhood, and we can get them somewhere like Richmond Heights area or like Richmond West, but they're close to the turnpike, right? Are you okay with being closer to the turnpike so that your commute is a little bit shorter, where you can still get the house that you're looking for, but you're closer to the turnpike? Your commute's not going to be as long, as opposed to like whatever you're going to be way out east, but further away from the turnpike. So again, you kind of find out what the qualities are. School now isn't really as big of an objection anymore, because now you can go to any school without living in that school district. So that used to be a big one, but mention to your buyers, you don't have to live in that school district in order for your child to go to that school.
Since when that happened, because I remember a few years ago, I was dealing with a customer and they wanted the kids to go to Palmetto High, which is in
Yeah, down south.
right.
So Palmetto specifically has, I don't know exactly how long it's been in that way, but it's been a few years. But Palmetto specifically has like an iPrep program or like an advanced program. Most schools nowadays have some sort of magnet program where you don't have to be in that school district in order to go to that school. Killian, Palmetto, Cutler Bay, not Cutler Bay, Cougars, not Cougars, Barracudas, Coral Reef. They have a magnet program. So a lot of schools now have magnet programs where you don't need to be in that school district in order to go to that school. Yeah. So when you get that objection, then you can tell them that, right? So, all right, I'm gonna jump into the MLS real quick. You guys want a little break? Yeah. All right, I'll give you guys a little break.
In the meantime, can I ask you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so.
Wait, real quick. Sorry. We'll take a break until 12. Is that okay with you? 7 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Take a break until 12. What was your question?
So one of the things that I've been doing is for sale by owners that really don't want to meet me, I
Okay.
try to see, my last resort is to try to see if I can do an open house for them.
Okay.
How would you suggest because the open house would eventually help us get buyers, right?
Mhm.
How would you recommend, since it's not listed and we don't want to provide the Zillow, link so that they can contact the agent, like, how would you recommend to go for it? How would you advertise besides social media, but how would you advertise those open houses to get as many buyers as possible?
So I would start with social media, right? I know you mentioned that briefly, but aside from social media, I would go to Cole Realty. I would pull up the neighborhood. I would invite all the neighbors. I would call them all and let them know, hey, your neighbor has a house for sale. We're going to be doing an open house on Saturday. I would love for you to be there. I will go door knocking, right?
That's-
Yeah, so I'll go door knocking, and that's pretty much it. Just door knocking, and phone calls. Just get in front of as many people as you can and promote that open house. Now, one thing that I would ask the seller, listen, we can get a ton of exposure by putting it on the MLS, right? Now, if I bring you a buyer, you already mentioned to me that you were willing to pay commission.
correct. A lot of them do.
All of them, most of them do, right? Yeah, majority of them tell you, yeah, bring me a buyer, I'll pay you your commission. Fantastic. Hey, look, you're already willing to pay me my commission. I would love to do an open house, and this is usually a conversation you have face to face, right? I would love the opportunity to do an open house. I think we can get a lot of exposure through the MLS. It's not the only tool, but it's one of the tools that we use. Would you be okay with giving me a listing for 2 weeks so that I can put it in the MLS to promote the open house?
Oh,
Right. If you get a listing for 2 weeks at in this market at a reasonable price, it'll sell.
but isn't KW does not allow a listing for less than 3 months, 6 months, or whatever?
No, I mean,
It's just something that we say.
Yeah. You can take a listing for realistically as long as you like. You can take it for 2 days, 30 days, 60 days. I mean, I've had sellers give me a 30-day window, and I'm okay with that as long as we price it right, and I know that it's going to sell because I know that traditionally they'll sell very, very quickly. So I would throw that out there and say, listen, you're already willing to pay a commission, and I'm very confident that I'm going to find you a buyer through this open house. Let me get maximum exposure and just give me 2 weeks to put it in the MLS.
So that's a great point. But what I was thinking, maybe one of the objections would say, but if I give you the listing, that means I have to pay commission for the buyer, and for you, and for the buyer's agent.
It
I
depends.
feel like this is kind of like an objection.
Yeah.
especially People that know that I
Right.
think of a specific person that I called
Mhm.
last week and I called today.
Right. Good morning, Marietta. How are you? So you can, and I'm glad Marietta walked in here. You can essentially tell them, listen, we can just put it up in the MLS, and not offer anything to buyer's agents and just get the exposure on the MLS, right? We can put it up for 0%, right, Marietta? If she has a for sale by owner and she wants to do an open house for them.
Okay,
So she was asking about how to promote the open house without, having it listed. And I said, well, why don't you approach the for sale by owner and see if they'll give you a 2-week listing so that we can put it up in the MLS, get the exposure. It's not the only tool that we have, but it's a great tool, right? And if they're not willing to pay on the listing side, they're going to pay you your 3%. You can put it up on the MLS at 0%,
or I would put a flat fee. of
or a
$100.
flat fee of $100.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah,
What does
or
that mean? A flat fee of $100?
So if somebody brings you a buyer, another realtor, the only thing they're gonna get paid is $100.
right. So
And the
there,
rest of whatever you negotiated with them would be fine for you.
right. So you can take the listing. Listen, you're already willing to pay 3%. Let's sign a listing at 3% for 2 weeks, so I can put it in the MLS. I can get the open house on Zillow, Realtor.com, all those other things, and all the agents that have buyers for that specific property are probably not going to show them that house because they're only going to get paid $100. So majority of the buyers that are going to come are most likely going to be either unrepresented or not really have a strong relationship with their agent.
That's a great point. And is it, so, this is, I think, but isn't when you post it on the MLS, it gets posted in multiple other websites?
Right. So we're going to
So
get
we
that
can-
exposure. Exactly. We can put it up in the MLS, and all the buyers who use Zillow and Realtor.com and all these other websites to find open houses, they'll know about it, right? And they're going to contact you because now you're going to be the listing agent.
Awesome, love it. I just came to check in.
Perfect.
That way
Thank you,
I
Maria.
find it.
Yep.
Great class, guys.
Thank you. All right, we have another minute of break. You guys just want to power through, or you want to take a few more minutes?
No.
You're the talker.
All right, I'm good. I can talk for hours. I'm on a lot of coffee right now. So
If you got just a couple minutes on the break,
Yeah.
quick question, man. So I'm trying to figure out, like, just for my own benefit, like, where the market's going, right? So like, people are like, okay, short sales are coming, so, it's gonna be more inventory,
Really come.
but you got like this whole pack of wolves waiting for
Mhm.
inventory to come to pounce on it. Is that gonna drive demand higher and keep prices still stable and interest rates higher?
Yeah, so let me pull up market stats for you.
That's for the MLS.
This is for the last, going back as far as March of 2020. If you look at the last few, and this is on a weekly basis, right? With the exception of this month right here, where we are in the fours, everything is right around that mid 300 range. And those are new listings that come on the market every single week, right? These are single family. RE1 is strictly single family. If you look here, 360, 363, 394, 370, a high week here, 350, 317, 370. So we're averaging, huh?
So no condos?
RE2 is condos. These are condos here, and this is single family. So if we're looking strictly at single family, right? We're averaging around 350 a week in new inventory, right? And we're averaging in the higher, lower fours, 537, 508, 422, 501. You know, we had a slow week here, 373, 411. This is July 19th. This is as of today, right? I just pulled these stats this morning. 411 pending, right? So consistently, we have more going pending than is coming active, right? Demand, there's a ton of demand. Now, to your point, there's so much demand that even as inventory starts to rise, there's still going to be so much demand that prices are still I don't see how in the next year,
I don't see how
year and a
prices go
half,
down.
2 years, prices can go down, right? On most of our properties, so I did 2 open houses over the weekend. We put the house on the market on what, Thursday? I think we already have like 7 offers on one of them. So, and on some houses, we're getting 20, 30 offers, right? If, let's just say we have 20 offers on a property, right? Usually, and as prices start to shift or as interest rates start to rise and market conditions change, what I see the first thing that's going to start to happen is that buyers are going to stop paying over appraised value, right? Right now, we're getting guaranteed money for almost every sale. We're getting guaranteed over appraised value. I would say the average we're looking at is somewhere between like 10 and 15 guaranteed, right? That's going to be the first thing that's going to stop, right? In my opinion. So we may not sell for a ton above ask, but we'll probably still the first shift is going to be selling at ask, right? Now, if interest rates go up and you knock out, let's say from 3 to 4%, right? Right now, I think rates are, as of last week, I think they're like 2.9%. If they go up to 3.9, a whole percent up, let's say that knocks out 50% of the buyer pool, right? Just from that one increase, that 1% increase. We had 20 offers. We still have 10 offers on the house. We still have a ton of buyers competing with each other, right? So with all that being said, I don't see how prices are gonna come down anytime soon in the next year and a half, 2 years. I don't think.
Can you share how you got to these market stats? Is that a long process?
I'm not allowed to share this.
Oh, okay.
But I can, not that I don't want to, or it's just the system it won't give you access to it. So, and I'm not the admin on this sheet, so I'll find out how to get you these numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll find out how to get them to you. Yeah.
On Matrix, it says market report.
Yeah, you might be able to find it to there, and these
This is like your custom template. This is like,
yeah.
got it,
But
understood.
I'll find a way to get this to you, or what I'll do is I'll just send you the link. I'll see if I can send you the link on where I pulled the numbers from.
Thanks, Mr.
But yeah, so to your point, when prices do start to come down, when they do, or when there are a ton of short sales, there's so many people looking to buy that I don't see how prices are going to come down anytime soon. Now,
Do you think that we're gonna have, with this high demand, I don't see any short sales coming in, because even people that.
the thing is that now, yeah, the thing is that now, a lot of people that are either in forbearance or in risk of foreclosure have a lot of equity because prices have gone up. So a lot of people aren't going to be forced to foreclose, they'll probably just sell. Right? If you can't afford your mortgage, your monthly mortgage, but you have 30,000 equity, 40,000 in equity, then I can still sell and take 30 grand out of the property, 40 grand out of the property, or even break even, right? A majority of the buyers nowadays have equity, and not buyers, homeowners nowadays, even if you bought, because prices have gone up so much in the last year and a half, even if you bought 2 years ago, odds are you still have a little bit of equity in your property. So it's very rare that somebody doesn't have equity now, and if they're in risk of foreclosure, their first option is probably going to be to sell. You know,
Sell it at a regular price, because if they had to price your property and things like that, they can sell it within a few days.
yeah, and it's not so much about the time that it's going to take them to sell, because it's going to sell quickly, but it's the fact that if I owe, even if I bought the house 2 years ago for 300 and it's worth still 300 now, then I can even at least break even, and that's not going to be like a foreclosure that's going to hit the market, you know, because it's not like prices have gone down 40, 50% like they did in 2008, you know. So even still, all these buyers, when the forbearance gets lifted, and you know the eviction moratorium gets lifted, and now people are out on the streets, which I don't think they will be too much. People have equity, so I don't see that. I don't see there being a ton of foreclosures hitting the market either. That's why it's tough for me to even tell investors, hey, wait, because I don't see that. I see you waiting a really, really long time for a ton of foreclosures to hit the market. Yeah, there's still foreclosures that come, you know, that are, you know, daily, right? And like I said, there's still deals to be had in any market. There's just not as many of them, but you're not going to see that huge influx of like, oh, this is going to get lifted, there's going to be a ton of foreclosures hit the market. I don't think we're going to see that for at least, I don't see that happening truthfully ever. I'm not ever, I don't want to say ever, but like, because of what's happened in the last year, I don't think that that's a possibility in the near future. And I say near, like next 2 years, 3 years.
Let's just add more buyers.
Yeah,
Market,
you're just going to add more buyers, and then now you have even more buyers, which is just going to kind of keep prices where they're at. You know, another number for you guys. I'm a big numbers guy, if you didn't tell. Before the pandemic, pre-pandemic, we were averaging somewhere around 6,000 to 7,000 active homes in Dade County. Right now, we're averaging somewhere around 25 to 2,700 active. So that's a 60 to 65% decrease in inventory. And even at 6,000 to 7,000, there was still a ton of demand. So it's going to take something really, really impactful, I guess, to change the market. You know, I don't see.
I have a lot of buyers that they asked me if we're gonna have the same issue that happened back in the market crash back in 2007, I think it was, because it's saying that a lot of like the prices of the properties are going up.
What I hear from everybody that tells me that prices are going to go down is that the houses aren't worth that, or there's no way that this is sustainable. Those are the two things that I hear. The houses aren't worth what people are asking, and that the increase is not sustainable. A property or anything is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. If there are 15, 20 buyers willing to pay, and they are willing to pay it because I see the offers coming in, and I see, you know, the house that we did the open house this weekend, we're listed at 570. I think the highest offer I have now is like 610, right? And it's only been on the market for 4 days. So yeah.
So what happened in that case, man? It's like, for example, in that particular neighborhood, so somebody comes and buy the property in the city appraisal comes back to 508, for example, 590.
Right.
So
we have, again, in a lot of our offers, we're getting buyers to pay, to guarantee that they're going to pay over appraised value, right? And a lot of the offers, for that specific offer that I mentioned to you, they're guaranteeing $20,000 over appraised value. So even if it does come, it's at 610, the property can appraise as low as 580, and we'll still get our 610, right? So
how do you do that? I mean, like, because I just got a listing, and then I got like 3 offers already, and I have a bunch of people trying to show the property. And I checked the comps in the area. The property I marked it 330, and the comps are about that price. But then some people are already telling me they can pay $10,000 over the asking price. So
Alright.
my question is this is what I don't understand. So that particular property, let's say that I offer at 330 and somebody comes and buys for 350.
Mhm.
That price, that sale, I make the sale for 350, that's 10. So what's gonna happen in that neighborhood? That sale that I made is gonna determine the next price for the other property,
Absolutely. That's your new comp,
even if the house doesn't worth that.
but it's worth it. Somebody paid it.
That's your point, I see what you're saying now.
Somebody paid it. So if somebody saw the value, and if one person did, odds are somebody else will.
Back to there are deals to be made. Are you guys tapping into different areas, like outside of like the hotspots, like potential, like you're calling, obviously you're gonna be calling trends of home sales and maybe Pembroke Pines. I heard Pembroke Pines is like blowing up now, right? But even further up north.
Not so much area wise, more property type. We're calling a lot of old expireds. Little bit of a secret here, guys. A lot of the business we've gotten in the last like year has been old expireds, expired from like 2016 to 2017, who at that point, usually an expired listing expires because it's overpriced, right? 2017, they may have been asking 500, it may have been overpriced back then, but now it's probably worth that. So I've been calling a lot of older expireds and just asking, hey, do you still own the house? And if I can get you that same number that you wanted back then, are you willing to sell now? Because if at some point they wanted that number, it's probably because it was really important to them to get that number, right? Now you're going to have people that say, yeah, but prices have gone up, so now I want even more. And they're probably still in that mindset that their house is worth more.
Yeah.
But you'll find, you'll find sellers who say, yeah, now I can get the 500 that I wanted. Now is the time to sell. That's mainly what we've been focusing on. Area wise, like I won't really, area wise, really what I prospect is like this Kendall area, Kendall down to like Homestead. But I won't turn anything down like, like Pembroke Pines, but specifically like, I would say as far north as I'm willing to go prospect, it'd be like Doral. It's probably about as far north. Prospecting, right? Now, if I get business somewhere else, I'll make the drive. But as far as like prospecting, I want to target my prospecting to,
Area that I know.
yeah, if it's going to be targeted, might as well target an area that I really like or that I'm willing to drive consistently to. All right. We got about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So I want to be very quick with this because I want to make sure I get you guys everything that you need. So I'm on page 15. A lot of the stuff that's in the rest of it we've gone through. The rest of the lesson today we've kind of gone through, been jumping around a little bit. So it's not like we have a ton left to go over. On page 15, there's some terms that we use. And I'm going to show you how to find those different numbers, right? So the first one is list price to sale price. Does anybody know what that is?
Yes.
All right. It's the percentage of what a property sells for compared to what it's listed for. If it's listed for 100,000, it sells for 99,000, 99% list price to sale price ratio. If it's listed at 100, sells for 101, 101% list price to sale price ratio, right? Why is that important? When we get into making offers, it's very important that we know statistically where the property should sell at, right? So that we can guide our buyers to make the right offer, right? If I have a buyer that tells me, hey, I want to buy at 350, so just send me everything at 400 and below so we can make lowball offers. Hey, in this market, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get something $50,000 under ask, right? If you want to buy it, huh?
It happens to be.
Did they told you they wanted to buy and at a lower price, but send them something higher?
Oh, no.
Oh, you bought
I
50,000.
bought- Yeah, the listing price was 259 and we bought it at 190.
Nice. Where was that at?
Rico.
Wow. A condo? Probably a lot of inventory in the building or no?
Yeah, we had a little thing where the property in the third floor with a better view was sold for 185.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all cash, so we kind of like.
Yeah.
At first she said 210, then we put it down to 200, and I was like, okay, I'm giving you an offer of 180, 190, you decide whether.
Yeah. So one thing that I'll mention about that, congratulations obviously on the sale.
But it's not common.
Not that it's not common, it's that you had comps to support the lower price.
Right.
In this situation, if the comps are supporting 99%, 100%, 101% list price to sale price ratio, then it may be a little unrealistic to make that offer. Now, if If you have a comp that supports a $50,000 price difference, then of course you can justify it. But what I'm getting at here is that it's going to be very difficult for us to justify a $50,000 under ask price offer when we're offering $50,000 less than what it's worth, right? Like if they're priced accurately, if they're asking 400 and it's worth 400, then we can't expect to get it at 350 if they're active on the market, right? Like if it's off market, different situation, maybe we find a good deal. But active on the market is a little unrealistic. So I'll show you guys in a second how to get these numbers. The next one is days on market. Obviously, how many days has the property been on the market? The next one is average days on market. So that's different. That's the average of the neighborhood, right? Now, why do we want to know that? If the average days on market in the neighborhood is 15 days and this property has been on the market for 10 or 11 days, then we know, hey, they're probably going to get ready to sell soon. They probably have a few offers already, right? If it's priced accurately. If they are, if the average days on market is 15, but they've been on the market for 50, well, that's a little bit of a red flag. Why have they been on the market for so long? Is the price high? Is the condition bad? Are they not allowing showings? What is the reason why they've been on the market for so long? But you want to know what the average is so that you have like a baseline on how to make your offer. BINS, this is Buyer Instant Notification System, which is essentially is our saved searches on the MLS, right? When we send people automatic properties, that's called BINS. As soon as a property hits the market that matches their criteria, it'll get sent to them. The next one is IDX, which is the Internet Data Exchange, and that's essentially the what's it called? The back end system behind BINS, right? Not super important for you to know right now, but they do want you to know it, and it does kind of translate into the buyer presentation. So how do we find these numbers? Let's do something. I'm gonna show you guys something real quick. So let's say Zoom. I'm gonna share my screen with you so you guys can see. I pulled up the MLS real quick, and I'm gonna show you guys how we pull these numbers. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So I mentioned how perfect. I mentioned how I love Miami because it's all squares. So if I want to call this specific neighborhood 67th to 62nd, 64th Street to Sunset, it's very easy for me to do so. And it's very easy for me to pull the neighborhood stats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out this little square. All right, so you see how the MLS highlights this little square? It's obviously only going to show me the actives, and it's only going to show me single family. So there are 2 active single family houses in this neighborhood. So if I were to pull up the list of this neighborhood and call them, and they ask me, hey, what's going on in my neighborhood? Well, hey, there's very, very low inventory. It's a great time to sell. There's a ton of buyers looking to buy and not a lot of inventory in your neighborhood. There's not going to be a lot of competition, which means we can probably drive your price up, right? That's a great way to sell that to a seller. Now, if there were a lot more inventory, hey, there's a ton of inventory, we might be able to get a good deal on the house in your neighborhood. Have you considered buying a second home in your neighborhood? Or you can kind of play with the numbers a little bit, or play with the information that you're given, right? So how do we find list price to sale price ratio? What I'm going to do is I'm going to click close sales and the last 6 months. So in the last 6 months in this square neighborhood that I picked, there has been 11 closed sales, single family closed sales. And you'll see all these little blue ones, right? Now, the bottom of the screen here, it says stats. If you click that and then click tabular, it'll give you all the information that we just spoke about. Of these 11 houses that sold, the average is a 3.2, 1,928 square feet. The average list price is $725. The average sale price is $701. The average days on market is 31, and the average days on market, the average list price to sale price ratio is 96%, right? Now, Here's what's really interesting about these numbers, right? And this neighborhood doesn't show it too well, and this is because it's South Miami. There's a bunch of different houses. You'll have like a 2-bedroom and then you have a 5-bedroom in the same neighborhood. But in some neighborhoods, you'll see where the minimum, right? The minimum sale usually most of the time sells for the least percentage compared to what they're asking, right? And then the maximum sale, right? The one that sells above ask usually takes a lot longer, right? You see this one sold in 0 days. This 2-bedroom, 1-bath sold, they sold at a $29,000 discount, but they sold it day 1, right? This other house, they got more than what they were asking, but they had to wait 83 days, right? Now, both are fine as long as the customer knows what the expectation is, right? If they're willing to sell very quickly, right, you may give a discount on the property. If you're willing to wait it out, you may be able to get some more money for your property, right? So what's your timeline like? What are you looking to achieve? Where should we price your property based on your needs, your specific goals, right? But again, we don't know that until we run these numbers. So that's how you find list price to sale price ratio. That's how you find days on market. That's how you find, so look, average days on market, 31, right? That's for a $700,000 house. I'm gonna take off these closed sales and I'm just gonna look at actives. Now, if I have a buyer looking to buy this specific property, 6430 Southwest 63rd Avenue, it's a 3-2. They've been on the market for 0 days. They just hit the market, right? So if I have a buyer interested in this property, I'm gonna run the comps, see how accurately they priced it. And if it's priced accurately, then based on market conditions, I know that we need to make an offer quickly, right? I don't think this house, if it's priced accurately, is gonna even get to 30 days in the market, right? Average, again, so you guys know, average days on market today, I believe is, I'm not gonna give you the wrong number. It was 9, but I don't wanna give you the wrong number because I haven't ran updated numbers, but you're somewhere like around that 9 to 15 day range average for Dade County, right? And these are fairly accurate, somewhere within that range. So if it's priced accurately, it's probably not going to sit on the market too long. So we know, hey, we got to make offers quick, right?
Sources not.
Yeah, everything is either MLS or not. Yeah. All right. So that's how you find that information. Now, one real quick thing that I'll show you as well, and this is really cool for you guys to see. We're going to click active, right? So there are 2 actives. This is how we find whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market in a specific neighborhood, right? There are 2 actives. Now I'm going to take off actives and I'm going to click close sales, but rather than 6 months, I'm going to do 30 days. In the last 30 days, there have been 4 houses sold. So more houses are selling than are coming on the market. Again, back to what we spoke about earlier with our market stats, similar to the rest of the market, a lot more is selling than is coming on the market. So we have less inventory. We have less than 1 month inventory, right? If this number was, let's say this number was 1, right? 2 divided by 1, it'd be 1. We have 1 month of inventory, right? It would take, how long would it take to sell out of our inventory? If 4 are selling per month and we only have 2 active, then we have more selling in 1 month that is even on the market now. If less than what's active is selling per month, right? If there were 10 actives, but 2 sold, then 10 divided by 2 is 5. We have 5 months of inventory. It would take 5 months to sell of our current inventory if nothing else came active, right? So we know that anything from 0 to like 4 months is a seller's market. 4 to 6, 7 months is a neutral market, and then 7+ is a buyer's market. This neighborhood is one of the strongest seller markets in all of Miami. They have less active than what's actually selling. So when you're calling this neighborhood and they ask you, hey, what's going on in our neighborhood, you'll never believe it. We have more properties selling than are even coming on the market. Now's a great time to sell. We can probably drive your price up, right? That's how you kind of use this information to give value to the people that you're speaking to, right? All right, let me run through the buyer consultation real quick. And again, I'll be very brief with it. Now, before we get into this, I want to mention something to you guys and see and see what you guys think. So just give me 1 second. One of one of our Asian partners at the Kren Group, his father just passed away from COVID. So on Wednesday, we're going to be doing a training. I don't know if you guys.
Is it in the GoFundMe or will you pay the Kren Group directly?
Yeah, you can just go through the GoFundMe, and if you donate there, then we'll see that you donated. Just put your first and last name, obviously, and then when you come in, we'll verify that you paid, and then we'll give you the information. So what we're doing to help support Carlos and his family in this time, on Wednesday from 2 to 4, we're going to do a training. The Kren Group, we're going to do a training. We're going to be talking about the listing presentation, right? We're going to talk about how we actually price homes in order for them to sell. Our average days on market right now is 6 days on market, right? So we'll teach you how to price them so that they sell, so that we drive the price up, so that we get multiple offers, right? And ultimately get guaranteed money for our sellers, which we try to do that. And then we're going to have like an open discussion, question and answer, right? We're going to give you all that material as well. So it's going to be a $50 investment or contribution to his funeral expenses if you'd like, and you can afford to support. We would love for you to join. And the reason I'm bringing that up now is because I'm going to show you the buyer consultation. We're gonna do the same thing here, but with the listing presentation on Wednesday. So it'll be a similar information just for sellers. So if you guys are interested, it'll be here.
This week,
Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday 2 to 4.
2 to 4.
Yeah, if you can, I'll send you guys all the link for the GoFundMe if you can. We would really appreciate it. I know him and his family right now that they're grieving, and it would be, awesome if we can get as much support from the office as we can. So if you can afford to, and you would like to get some information, we're going to give you all that stuff to you guys. So with that being said, let's jump into the buyer presentation real quick. And I'll be brief with it because we got to get out of here in like 25 minutes. But you guys will get the gist of it. So what I do is, by this point, we've already, leading up to the appointment, right? We've gotten the lead, we've called them, we've asked them some questions, their motivation, we've kind of qualified them a little bit financially. We understand why they want to buy, all that stuff. And then we ultimately set the appointment for them to come into the office so that we can talk about, what the process is like. Now, what I do is I reserve a conference room. You pull up the screen, pull up the presentation on the screen, and then I have a blank folder, just like that, like Kevin has a Keller Williams folder. On one side, I have a blank contract, like a purchase contract, an offer, and then on the other side, I have a buyer info sheet. That buyer info sheet just has questions about the buyer that aren't really like real estate related. When's your birthday? Do you have any hobbies? What's your favorite drink? What's your favorite movie? You have any, what's your favorite car? Stuff like that, like different personal information, so that we can, when we close or when we're throughout the process, we can follow up with them based on, when we can send them a birthday note, we can send them whatever, a person, something personalized for them, right? So I'll bring them into the office. Hey, I have this folder here. I'll leave a pen there. Can you just fill this out for me for the next few minutes while I prepare for our meeting? Can I get you any water or coffee, whatever? I'll step out for a few minutes. They'll usually fill that out, or they'll fill out what they feel comfortable filling out, right? Some questions they won't fill out, but they'll fill out whatever they feel comfortable filling out. I come in, and then a lot of this is structured and scripted. Right. So the first thing I say is, hey, Kevin, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come in and meet with me. I know your time is very valuable. Kevin, one of 3 things is going to happen today, right? The first, you'll see the value in what we have to offer and you decide to work with us. That'd be fantastic. The second, you may not see the value and you decide not to work with us. That'd be okay as well. And the third thing that may happen is that I may decide not to work with you. Now, Kevin, let me explain. If at any point in time I feel like I cannot service you, and at any point in time I feel like I cannot deliver on what you're looking for, I'd rather turn you down now than let you down later. Does that sound fair? Fantastic. All right. So one of 3 things is going to happen, right? You're going to work with me, you're not going to work with me, or I'll turn you down, right? And then I have a little pause there. Why do I have the little pause? You want them to think, why wouldn't Lance work with me, right? Let them think about it. And then now let me explain. It's not that I don't want to work with you, but if I feel like I can't service you, or if I feel like I cannot deliver on what you're looking for, I'd rather turn you down now than let you down later, right? I'd rather tell you now, hey, I can't make it happen, than call you in 3 weeks and say, hey, you know what? I can't deliver on what I promised. I want to under promise and over deliver. Right? So that's the intro. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I want you to understand the difference between a salesperson and a consultant. We're real estate consultants. That means we're not going to sell you a property. We're going to consult you with your purchase. What does that mean? If you ask me, what do I think about this house? I'm going to tell you my honest opinion, as opposed to just telling you, hey, I think it's a great house. You should buy it. You should make an offer, right? We'll also understand the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market. The next slide, we'll go into some stats, right? By this point, I've already done a little bit of pre-qual. Right, so I know what their price range is in terms of what they're thinking, right? May not be what they're qualified for, but maybe what they're thinking of, right? You know, because we ask, you know, what price range are you looking in? You have an idea of price, whatever. This specific example, they told me that they wanted to buy around 300,000, right? So, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, the average list price to sale price ratio for your specific neighborhood. And again, I'll pull up the specific neighborhood that they want to buy, all the stuff that we just did on the MLS. I'll find what the average list price to sale price is in that specific neighborhood. And the, you know, Kevin, in the neighborhood that you mentioned to me, average list price to sale price is around 98%. That means that at 300,000, the property should sell around 294. Right now, why am I letting them know this? Because I want to set the right expectations for the type of offer that we should be making. Right? Again, I don't want to show up to a $300,000 house and then have them want to offer 250, 260, 265, something that's not going to be realistic. Right?
Does that hurt you when it comes to overall offer? Because there's so it's high demand for that one property, or like, you know what I'm saying? Or,
Yeah. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is just an average,
okay.
and this is just what we see on the MLS as of right now. We'll get in, and then I'll get into a little bit. You know, so actually, listing inventory is down 6.4% from the same time last year. That means when inventory is down, demand goes up. When demand goes up, prices also go up. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we may find ourselves in a situation where we have multiple offers on a property, and that is going to affect price for sure. Right. So these are just averages. But once we find your property, then I'll make sure that I get as much information as I can to make sure we put the right offer in. Okay. But yeah, this will explain to them why the market is going in the direction that it's going in. Get your pre-approval for financing, the benefits to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. It turns you into a cash offer. These are all the benefits, time, money. Again, I want to go through it quickly so that I can get you guys out of here on time. But a lot of this stuff is just me setting up to ask for. I'll go through the important slides. This one is important. Benefits of buyer agency. What is buyer agency? Buyer agency is an exclusive agreement. I'm going to represent you. You're not going to buy with anybody else except for me. Right? 100% of my clients choose buyer agency. Now, between us in this room, I don't consider a client mine until they've signed a buyer agency agreement. Because why would I? If they haven't committed to working with me, then they may commit to working with somebody else. And if I'm showing them real estate, I don't consider a listing to be mine unless I have a listing agreement to sign. I don't consider a buyer to be mine unless I have a listing agreement signed with that buyer. Right? The average list price to sale price ratio is 98%, as I mentioned. My average is 97%. This is actually lower. This is our team average. My average is lower, so when I'll personalize this to my average, you guys can do the same for you, or you can put your office numbers here. All I do is work with buyers, which means I'm able to see over 150 houses per month, right? Between showings, open houses, and viewing properties on the MLS, that number is probably closer to like 400 or 500 on a given month. Buyer instant notification, we spoke about it earlier. It's essentially as soon as the property hits the market that matches what you're looking for, you'll be the first to know about it. And also, I can answer you in a paragraph instead of a sentence. What does that mean to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? If you ask me, hey, Lance, what do I think about this house? I can tell you, hey, I think it's great, yada, 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 as opposed to, hey, I think it's great, you should make an offer and you should buy it right now, right? And then I'll ask you.
It's very number stats related.
Yeah.
That gives you like.
It's visual, and it doesn't click with everybody. A lot of people, not a lot, some people aren't numbers people, and they may not see the value in the numbers, but some people are, and we are, so we like to, you know.
I mean, most
facts.
of the people, when you're giving them that 100%, that thing that's close, even if you're not a number person, everybody knows what 100%.
Right. And what's good about this, right, and the reason why I say that 100% of my clients choose buyer agency is because at the end of this presentation, when I ask them to sign the contract, I want them to feel like, hey, I want to be part of the group. I don't want to be the only person that doesn't sign a buyer agency agreement, right? How do I get paid? Almost all my fees are paid by the seller. All brokers have access to the same information. The biggest difference is the speed in which they can get you that information. Remember, we spoke about this earlier. So I'm sure you have a ton of agents emailing you properties, Robert, and I know that you're probably seeing a ton of stuff on the internet. After today, I'll have a really good idea of what you're looking for, and the properties that I send you, not only will I get them to you faster, but I'll also get you other properties that other agents can't send you because they're not calling off-market property owners, right? And again, it's not they don't want to, it's just they don't know what they don't know what you're looking for, right? For sale by owners, if you see one, call me first. Why? For sale by owners, we'll pay my commission. The difference is if you don't, you'll have to either get an attorney. I don't know why the size is a little different now. I guess because of the screen. But the difference is that an attorney will charge you by the hour, which means if you have 15, 16, 17 hours wrapped into the deal and the deal falls through, the attorney is still going to send you that bill. With me, we just move on to the next property. You see the value in that, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? Kind of checking with them often. And usually this is like a conversation. Again, I'm running through a little quickly, so for the sake of time. Same thing. If you see new home construction, builders will pay my fees. Give me a call first. If you do call me first, I can give you what's called an open house guest pass. That means that the on-site salesperson will call me and not you. What is the benefit to you is the representation. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you have to understand that the on-site salespeople at these developments are working for the developer. They are looking out for the developer's best interest. They may not offer you all the incentives that are available. They may not want to give you the discounts, but if you have somebody representing you, then we can make sure that we get you every single incentive that development has to offer. The average buyer looks at around 5 homes before finding the right one. This is me setting up expectations to let them know if we see more than 5, we're going to have to revisit this conversation. I don't want to show you 10, 15, 20 different houses without you making any single offers. That doesn't do any good for anybody. If I'm showing you that many houses, I'm not showing you what you like. So if I'm not showing you what you like, then our conversation today wasn't very productive. We're going to have to sit back down and reevaluate what we spoke about. The most important key to finding the right home quickly is your feedback. If you see something that you like, tell me so I can show you more of that. If you see something that you don't like, tell me so I can show you less of that. And then we'll go over on that topic. We'll go over our show schedule and then what their best communication is, right? So what usually works best for you guys to see properties? Oh, we're usually available after work, after 5, whatever, and on weekends or any day in the morning, whatever. Okay, great. And how would you like me to best communicate with you? Would you like me to call you, send you a text, email? How would you like me to reach out to you? Oh, I prefer text. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm setting up, and a big reason why we do this is because, especially in today's market, that there is not a lot of inventory. And I don't know if you guys have dealt with any of this, but it's getting a little harder to schedule showings nowadays. So if I know what their schedule is like, I can just set the appointment rather than having to call them and say, hey, does this work for you? Are you available at this time? You've already told me I'm available. I've made myself available to you from this time to this time. So that way I can just coordinate with the agent and schedule the showing and call them and say, hey, or text them, hey, we have a showing confirmed at this time, right? Just show up and I'll meet you there. Right, so that's why, we throw this slide in there at this point. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if you look in that folder, there's a blank purchase contract. I'm going to send that home with you. Please review it. And if you have any questions, please let me know. The reason I'm going to send it home with you today is so that we can move quickly once we find the right home. What I don't want is for me to send them an offer and we're ready to submit it, but then they ask me, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean? What am I signing? What is all this stuff, right? It's a 12-page contract. It's long. There's a lot of verbiage. There's a lot of disclosures in there. Yeah, the offer. The as-is contract. Yeah. So I'll put that in a folder for them blank so that they can take it home, read through it. If they have any questions, anything that pops. Huh?
You don't do it with them?
No, it'll take a lot of time to go through all 12 pages. I'll just tell them, just read through it. If you have any questions, a lot of times they don't really have any questions. It's just, either they read it or sometimes they'll send it to an attorney of theirs. Right? That happens a lot too, where, it's happened to me where I send them an offer to sign, right? We've already seen the house, they like it, whatever. and then they say, hey, let me send this to my attorney so that they can review, and then the attorney takes 3-4 days. That's valuable time that we cannot lose.
So in that same sale, that happened to me, where my client wanted to send it to her
Attorney.
and her attorney added all these crazy conditions, including having every minute for every meeting of the association for the past 12 months. So little things like this, I tried to convey, and I think I did a good job, because she was like, okay, let's forget about this. But how do you go through convincing when lawyers bring up all these, because real estate lawyers are not in the market.
Yeah.
So they don't know association requirements, they don't know
Right.
these little things.
Yeah.
How do you go to convincing your client that what the attorney is doing is something that's gonna be hard?
Yeah, so like I really I understand your attorney's concerns, and the same way that their job is to look out for your best interest, so is mine. I'm not going to put you in a position where I'm going to put any of your money at risk or put you at risk to lose the property. Some of these things that they're asking for are either not necessary for us to close, or they may scare a seller from accepting your offer. Are you willing to include this verbiage and potentially risk losing the house that you love? Or are you okay with trusting me, the person that you hired to represent you, to submit the best offer for you? All right, no problem. This is a standard form. It's approved by the Florida Real Estate Commission. This is another thing that I'll tell them. It's approved by attorneys already. It's not just some form that I've drawn up and that I drew with crayon. It's a legitimate contract that has been approved by our board. This is the contract that all agents use. So you can be sure that we're not just giving you something that, that we came up with, right? I'll go through the important stuff, right? This is the important stuff of the contract. These are the next steps, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we found your home. What's the next step? We're going to put money in escrow. This is your earnest money. This earnest money will be around 3% of your total offer price, right? I'm letting them know, I'm setting up these expectations. Once we find the house, you need to have a check ready for this amount of money.
Issue is 3%, that's what you request?
Yeah, we'll do around 3%. Yeah. Sometimes a little higher. Like if 3% is, let's say, like 13 or 14, we'll just round it up to 15. If it's 11, we'll round it down to 10, but yeah, it's somewhere around that 3%. Once we have the money in escrow, we're also going to inspect the property. The inspection is for major items only, and I'll explain what those major items are. It's the 4 points for the 4-point inspection, which is roof, plumbing, electrical, and foundation. And then the 5th one that I like to throw in there is appliances. Most inspectors will check your appliances to see if there's any recalls or if there's any parts that the manufacturer is sending out for free, right? Most inspectors will do that. So those are the 5 major items. Now, why am I letting them know that now? Because what I don't want is for us to find the house, get it under contract, we do the inspection, and then let's say one of the tiles is cracked. Hey, the tile's cracked, I want them to put new floors in. Or, which I've had happen. I've had buyers tell me I want them to replace the floors, or I want them to fix one tile when that tile, if you guys, it's very hard to just get one tile, especially that matches the rest of the floors. That's an unrealistic request. If the outlets, right, a big one that we see often, the outlets like in the kitchen or the bathrooms, they're not GFCI. If they're not, they're only like $25. It seems like a huge issue because it's electrical, but the outlet is only like $20, $25. It's not a huge expense. We can't ask for like $1,000 credit or a $1,500, $2,000 credit for them to change outlets. When that may kill the deal. Are you willing to lose this house over $25 outlets, right? So again, I'm setting up these expectations. Now, if it's a roof issue, there's a leak, whatever it is, that's a realistic concern. We want to address that. If there's cracks on the concrete on the outside of the wall, we're going to address that. But if it's just like, hey, I don't like the color of the house, I want them to paint it, or I want them to give me a credit for paints, that's a little bit unrealistic, right? You had a question?
So what are the major, you said appliances?
It's the major 4 are roof, plumbing, electrical, and foundation. And then the 5th one that I like to throw in there is appliances. All right.
Sorry, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
quick question. I'm representing the buyers, and they want to offer for this property $10,000 more of appraised value. Do I have to do an addendum on that after we submit the offer?
No, it's with the offer that you submitted in the additional terms. The last page on the additional terms, You can just put buyer agrees to pay $10,000 over appraised value. Or buyer agrees that, this contract is not contingent upon appraisal, whatever you want to put in there. But if you're gonna put guaranteed money, put the amount. Buyer guarantees to pay 10,000 over appraised value, 15,000 over appraised value, whatever that number is, if they feel comfortable, specific amount, right? Look, I'll tell you now, what most agents are looking for, because again, we're getting a lot of offers. When we get an offer, I'm looking at price, closing date, inspection period, amount financed, whether it's financed or cash, and how much money they're guaranteeing over appraised value. So that last one, we never really used to look at because it wasn't very common, but now that is, and a lot of times we're getting offers all at the same price, all with the same closing date, all with the same inspection period, but then one is guaranteeing 9,000, one is guaranteeing 12,000, and one is guaranteeing 15,000, right? So we're gonna go with the most guaranteed money, or we'll tell the 9,000, hey, submit your highest and best, and that's usually how we drive the price up a little bit, right? And I don't think we've sent a counter offer in a year. We're getting too many offers to even entertain countering, because most of the time we have something better. So if you want to make your offer better, then adjust it and just send your highest and best right away.
How do you advise your clients? They're like, hey, I really like this property. I'm willing to go over ask. How do you know like how far over ask to go without like, making a crazy amount?
Yeah. I always put it on them. What are you comfortable paying? At the end of the day, it's not my money, right? So I don't want to give you a number that I feel comfortable paying, because I'm not going to be the one paying. So if you feel comfortable paying 20,000 over ask or 20,000 over appraised value, then let's do it, right?
What do you say? Like, well, what do you think it will go over ask for? Like,
yeah. So if they ask me, I'll do some digging from the listing agent and see how much information they're willing to give.
I've asked so many.
Yeah.
realtors, you have they're willing to tell you whether they have offers.
Yeah.
Or offers asking with higher asking price, but I've never met yet the market, the realtor review, but I've never seen a realtor telling me what's the highest offer they have.
Yeah. So you probably, you don't always get it. A lot of times we don't get a number, but a lot of times they'll tell us, hey, we're here, like we're in this ballpark, or we're already above ask. But if somebody doesn't want to tell me, if somebody doesn't want to tell me the actual number, think of it this way. If the listing agent is representing the seller and their job is to get the seller the most amount of money possible, and I'm asking them, where do I need to be in order to get this under contract? On the listing side, I'm willing to tell you we're at 610, put in an offer at 615, and I'll present it, right? Our best is here. If they're not willing to tell you, or they're very, very adamant on not giving you a lot of information, it's probably because they don't have a really good offer. Why would they tell you, hey, if they're asking 500, why would they tell you, yeah, my highest is 480? I can put it at, I'd rather tell you, no, I'm asking 500. Send us an offer at asking price, or send us your highest and best. But if I tell you we're at 480, you can put it in at 485, and you're already better than our other offer, but we're still not at our asking price. Right? So they may not tell you the exact number, but based on their response, you can kind of get an idea of where they're at, if they have a bunch of offers, or if the offers that they have are not super serious, right? Based on the answers that they give you. All right, now after the inspection, we'll appraise the property. The cost, the average is around $350. The best part is that you won't overpay for the property. What do I mean by that? If it appraises lower, you're not obligated to pay it unless we put it in the contract that you are, right? When do I pay that? You pay that at the time of appraisal. And I'm setting up what the steps are going to look like when we get there, so that it's not a shock, right? I've made the mistake of not telling the buyer, hey, you need to pay for the appraisal now, you need to pay for the inspection now, and then it's like, oh, $350 bill, $400 bill right now, right? Let them know beforehand, hey, you're going to pay for that at the time that it's done. The lender will call them, ask for a credit card number, they're going to give it to them, and then they'll order the appraisal. But they can't order it until it's been paid for. So it's important that they know that. Inspection has to be paid, at the time of inspection. After that, we'll get your loan approval. That means we have the full loan commitment. The lender has said, yes, we're gonna give you the money. That means we can close, right? We'll close, we'll take, you're taking your title, all your time and effort has paid off. You bring a cashier's check to the amount that the title company tells you. You bring it the day of closing, you sign, you get your keys, house is yours, we can celebrate, right? Congratulations. Now, some of the benefits of working with the team, you're always working with a specialist. Now, you guys, you are on a team. You're on Team Keller Williams. You have a ton of resources. The same way that I have resources, part of the Crane Group, you all have resources being with Keller Williams, and I'll explain how you can pitch the benefits of working with Keller Williams to your customers, right? Our knowledge, right? That's number one. I don't think there's a single thing that can happen that somebody in this office has not seen, right? If you come across something that seems strange or that you don't know how to handle, you have a ton of agents, a ton of resources here in the office to help you through that transaction. So yes, you may be hiring me, but you're not only hiring me, you're hiring me and my team resources, Keller Williams, the resources of the office, right? So that's how you kind of pitch that I'm part of a team, or that you're not just hiring a single agent. When you're working with me, you're working with a ton of other people. Now, your main communication is going to be with me, obviously, but if there's something that I don't know, I'll get you the answer. Our availability, right? Again, for me, I can just send a text to one of my team members. For you guys, you've built relationships with agents throughout the office. You come to know people and throughout the office. If for whatever reason I can't show a property, I can just send one of my team members a text. You guys can text each other, hey, can you show this property for me? I'll give you, I pay my team members for showing properties for me. You can pay them, hey, we'll usually do like a 10%, right, of the commission. Hey, show these properties for me. If they sell, you'll get 10% of the commission. So,
gross commission?
yeah. So it's not bad. I mean, you get a few $100 for showing a buyer around. It's money in your pocket. Helping another agent out, and you're using money that you don't even have yet. You're leveraging your deal. You're leveraging your buyer to leverage some of your time, right? If for whatever reason you can't show a property, hey Robert, I can't show a property. Can you show this property for me? I already have the appointment set up. I just need you to go and accompany them. I'll give you 10%. Commission might be 10 grand. You might get $1,000 for showing them 5 properties in a day. It's not bad money for a day's work.
Right?
What's that?
Is that the right percentage? 10%?
Whatever you agree upon. Yeah, whatever you agree upon. If you want to do like a flat rate, I'll give you $20 per house. I'll give you $50 per house. Whatever you want to, whatever. But what I'm getting at is that you have the availability of all the agents in the office, right? So for whatever reason, if you can't show a property, you have team resources, right? You have the office around you that can help you. And then communication. So communication for you guys, I'll put it in terms of you guys for the office. You have an MCA, you have a director of first impressions, you have a team leader, you have all these people that can help you. You have a lender, you have a title company, right? The communication is probably better off to pitch it on that side, right? Listen, I have a great relationship with my lender, I have a great relationship with my title company. For whatever happens throughout the transaction, everybody involved is going to know. So whether you call me, whether you call the title company, or whether you call the lender, we're all going to be on the same page. We're all going to be able to give you the same answer, right? This is the average, and again, same thing for you guys. This could be lifestyle, this could be Coldwell Banker, this could be anybody. This is the life, the daily life of an average agent, right? If you can see, there's a lot of tasks. Go ahead. Yeah. There's a lot of tasks that we have in a single day, right? We have to list homes, we have to do prospecting, we have to go to appraisals, we have to put properties in the MLS, we have to make brochures, we have to write newsletters, all this stuff, right? This is, oh, sorry, did you guys get a picture? No. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is our team, right? This is Keller Williams. You're at the center, and our team works around helping you find your home and achieving your goals, right? Now, for you guys, a marketing coordinator, we have Catherine, who does a lot of marketing for us, right? We have, let's see where else. Me, obviously, we have me. You have a call coordinator that could be, you can say, hey, I have a team member who's, if you know somebody that's prospecting every single day and you build a relationship with that person, part of my team is somebody who calls every single day who's constantly coming across off-market properties. right? Build a relationship with somebody that's prospecting. And if they're coming across off-market properties often, then you can tell them, hey, I have a buyer. What do you have that's off-market, right? You can start to pull different resources from the office. Client care manager for buyers. These are a little bit more specific to our team, but you can switch them up. You can say, listen, we have our MCA who makes sure that I got to get you guys out of here. I'll be quick. We have an MCA who helps with the finances. We have a team leader who helps me with a bunch of different resources. But essentially, you can kind of plug and play all the different parts of your business to make it to show the buyer that they're in the middle, that they're at the center of the transaction, as opposed to us at the center of the transaction, right? What are our goals? We want to get you the best price, fewest hassles, and the time frame that you desire. And then referrals. Who do you know? This is, again, I'm going to throw this out here, and I'm going to throw it out a few other times throughout the transaction as well. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this process is going to be very, very exciting, and I can guarantee that at some point the conversation is going to come up with somebody that you know that, hey, we're buying a house, right? If you come across anybody that mentions to you they're looking to buy or sell some real estate, I would love to provide them the same service that I can provide you. Who do you know at work, friends, school, church, family, anybody right now that is looking to buy or sell a house? Whether they give you a name and a phone number, they do. If they say, hey, I don't know, I appreciate you thinking about that for me. If you do come across anybody, feel free to reach out. And then some of our added value, these are, just working with our team. This is what you get for free, but this is obviously team specific. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, as I mentioned to you earlier, 100% of my clients choose buyer agency. If you feel comfortable and confident moving forward with me, I feel comfortable and confident that I can help you achieve your goals. Are you ready to put me to work? Yes, boom, slide the agreement, have them sign it. If they ask a question or if they have some sort of concerns, most of the time it's because we didn't address something in the consultation or we didn't address it in the slide. Majority of the time, the questions that they ask, I can just refer back to the slide. Oh, this is awesome, but I didn't catch it. How much do I owe you? Oh, no, my services are absolutely free. Remember, I mentioned it to you a little bit earlier. All my services are paid by the sellers. Okay, great. Boom, we'll sign. Or they may say, well, what if I see like a for sale by owner? Do I have to work with you as well? Well, yeah, this agreement would say that if you were going to buy a for sale by owner, that I'll represent you as well. Remember, we spoke about it. For sale by owners will also pay my commission. So most of the time, the objections that they're going to give you, if they give you any, are going to be, we can just refer back to the slide. Now, last thing that I'll mention for you, and then if you want to stay, you can. If not, you can leave. That's okay with me. I've already taken up a lot of your time. One of the things that I'll ask them, and this is on page 23, so you guys can see this as well. Once we've signed the agreement, I have another form. It's called our ABC buyer form. And on page 23, you can see that there as well. It's essentially, I'll ask the buyer to rate themselves whether they feel they're an A, B, or C buyer. And then I'll go through them with them, right? A C buyer, they have no immediate need. Something has to happen in order for you to be able to buy. And then an A buyer, they're ready, willing, and able to purchase. Remember, we spoke about this earlier. You're ready, willing, and able. Our verbiage is a little bit different. What we throw in there is you have to be in a home right now. You have to be in a home right now. I'm trying to think of the exact word, but essentially, if you don't buy now, you're going to be homeless. And it says you will be homeless on the agreement. Are you going to be that person? Are you an A buyer, right? And I'll have them pick, yes, I'm an A buyer. Fantastic. And then I have them sign. Make them write out A, and then I have them sign right under it, so that they've acknowledged that I'm ready, willing, and able. And if I don't buy, I'm going to be homeless. All right. So I know that their motivation is as strong to buy as mine is to help them buy. Right. And I'm letting them make the decision. Now, if they tell me, no, I'm probably more of a B buyer, fantastic. Now I know that there's some work that needs to be done in order to get them to an A buyer. But I want to know where their head is at, what they're thinking of in terms of how serious they are about buying. All right, guys. I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes if you guys have any questions for me. But if not, I appreciate all your time. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you very much for passing by. Thank you, Kevin.